Here we go. It is 7 p.m. Friday evening. This is the new Norm 2.0 with your boy Mo Delgado. Welcome to the show. Let me see if I can get some of this color. I'm too blue. Too much hand blue. I'm gonna change some of the gels. Anybody understand how production works? Sometimes you gotta change things around to make it look a little more appealing. You gotta add some things. You gotta take away other things. So I don't know. Yes, please. Can you walk around on the other side and see if you? Well, no, I got it. Thank you. Oh my God. I've got to do red on this side. Maybe this will do it too. Forgive me, y'all. Ooh, this is very odd looking. But let's see. Change this around, and maybe that'll bring some center to it. Let's see. Let's work it out for now. It is 7 p.m. Hope everybody's well. It is Friday, the 28th of May. We're looking at Memorial Day weekend here in America. I have. Thank you. So I want to make sure everything is good because sometimes the broadcast goes on and there's so much delay that are taking place, and I don't know why things aren't taking place the way they need to. I don't know why. I'm supposed to be live on YouTube. All right, it's there now. And live. It is 7 p.m. Hope everybody's well. It is Friday, the 28th of May. Y'all can hear the feedback. We're looking at Memorial Day weekend here in America. All right, it's there now. Hold up. And live. It is 7 p.m. Turn that down. Make sure that the sound is off there. Okay. And you guys can see everything. And again, Facebook trying to make everything just for my friends. It's supposed to be public. So as it goes public, we now know what's going on. All right. So as I said, forgive me, y'all, for some of the delay that we have or we run into on the show. But I want to make sure that all things that are available for us is available. Okay. Welcome to the show. And let's talk about some updates, recent updates. Just recently, the Congress met with the last known survivor of the Tulsa massacre that took place, memorialized through the concept of Black Wall Street. And her name was Miss Fletcher, Mother Fletcher, as most of us are looking on her as. She went and spoke in front of Congress to talk about the atrocities that she saw herself. The lady was immensely, I think her persona, you can see exemplified how, oh God, her grace was evident. It's immensely filled with the sense of, and I can't find the damn word. Oh my God, I really can't stand when my vocabulary gets limited, my mind. But she has a lot of personality, and her personality exuded there, and it was clearly. And she's an elderly woman, and of course, going through the Tulsa massacres, she experienced quite a lot. And she talked about death and seeing men just shot and killed. She saw how children were killed, and the city streets was left the way it was. And it's a really sad disposition that took place in history, and for so long, it was swept under the table. Here's the other elements that weren't talked about before as well. When the families of the people who own property and businesses in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in that part of the community that was burnt down because of racial bias and hatred, when the families tried to go to insurance policies and tried to get property rights they weren't available because the banks and everyone else who may have had interest in it eliminated and destroyed all these papers. They made sure there was no kind of link to any financial wealth that these individuals who lived and thrived in that community had. So Congress is now tasked to try to make right what happened and what went wrong at Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's extremely important that we support this, the endeavor to make right what transpired. We know too often that this same thing have happened in multiple cities. It wasn't just Tulsa, Oklahoma. Now we're talking about Florida as well. If I'm not mistaken, it was Brentwood. I will try to get the details, but another town that was primarily African American or people of color who thrived and worked within the community, and because of segregation, did very well for themselves. And the neighboring town wasn't as empowered, wasn't economically developed. They didn't have the advantages that this African American community had. And so because of the bitterness and the hatred that manifested between these two communities, one community executed a whole plan to eradicate and destroy this town. So this has happened too often in the early parts of the 19th century. And this happened also in 18th century. So history is definitely coming back to haunt the demons of the past. And now it's time to make right what transpired. So Mother Fletcher, as she goes in front of Congress and speak, being the last remaining survivor of the Tulsa race massacre, let's send all the appropriate wishes and prayers for her protection, her guidance, and her wisdom as she goes on and speaks her truth to Congress. And may all those who listen have an open heart, open mind to what is being said, and let no bitterness come through whatever shell they have in their hearts. Let no bitterness come through and affect the change that's necessary and affect the impacts, the solutions that are being found through this discovery. Because you're gonna find some that want to believe, well, it didn't happen now, so why are we paying for it now? And there's going to be a lot of individuals that love to continue that type of manifestation of denial. Because I'm not a part of it, so why do I got to pay for it? Well, ultimately, if your forefathers or your ancestors benefited from any parts of this, then you historically have also benefited, because the privileges that they were provided even more privilege and foundation and generational wealth for you. So as you're living as well as you are, and some of you may be living very well, and some of you may not be living as well as others. However, you didn't have to go through the discomforts and some of the barriers that a lot of these individuals have had because of these privileges provided from the deceit and the hatred and the killing and the eradication of people of color. So that's historically the burden that people or Caucasian Americans have to go through right now. White Americans have to go through right now. The truth is that some of you are too busy complaining and crying, why me? When ultimately you should say, well, okay, let's make it right. And then once we make it right, let's move on. So that's all we want. Justice has to do with equal rights. And equal rights is something we fought for on many occasions, still fighting to this day for equality and equity. And it's a shame how some still want to fight against it. And we see it, it's evident. Let me try to tone this yellow down. It's evident in how you see Congress and the Senate speak about things. You see evidence how the discussions taking place with the George Floyd situation, and how Congress has to now look at Congress and the House of Senate. The House of Representatives have to look upon this legislation. This is the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, and how they're looking at it. And then their point of view is evidently biased, and they're allowing their biasness. And sometimes it's the bias that's manifested in their communities that are pushing this individual who may not have the intensity of hatred in them, but because they support so many or being supported by so many that they have to carry that burden. And it's sad, but it's very true. But behind closed doors, people who don't look to be hateful, who have this appearance of peace, who have this appearance of equal rationale, or who have a tendency of looking upon things in sound to be open. A lot of times they aren't. Their own dark tendencies. And let me stop using that term, not dark tendencies. These secret tendencies that they have that are centered around hatred and bitterness and bigotry leak out. But if you don't pay attention, you're never going to see it. You see a lot of this bitterness and bigotry leak out often when you see people in front of the microphones, in front of the TVs and cameras and so on and so forth, people under pressure. And pressure proves the type of character that they are. And a lot of people may not be suited for dealing with this pressure. And some people are masters at it. And then you got some others who are not masterful in handling it, but they're good as hell passing it off to the next person. And they keep themselves sheltered. They keep themselves insulated, giving you recent discussions or recent situations here in the city that I call home. A certain individual has been put to the microphone or the dais in front of him to bear the burden of asking questions. Why or how did something happen in your home, in or around your family, and you did not speak on behalf of the alleged victim? But now all you're doing is insulating yourself with individuals who are paid supporters and individuals who are paid and encouraged to carry the message to solidify the image that's already been tarnished, to try to make everyone else believe what you want them to believe. And this individual is insulated by a group of others who are called upon to go into the communities, various communities, in the Latino community, in the Bangladeshi or Desi community, or Persian communities, in the Asian American communities, in the white communities here in Lake City. He has groups of individuals that go out into the community to speak on his behalf, to try to put some shine, and take away some of the speculation based upon this recent situation that's happened. So those of you who know without asking questions who the person is. Those of you who don't know, maybe you need to inquire some more about some of the things having to do with children and predators and the protectors of the predators that live here in Atlantic City. Speaking of, just recently, a man who is in concert with recovery actions. This individual apparently works for a company who is tasked to help people in recovery, drug and substance abuse. And this individual was recently caught at one of our parks that are frequented by children in the community, hiding in a bush after he allegedly had designated and corroborated with someone online on the website Grindr for him to meet up. And this person allegedly was said to be a 14-year-old boy. So this grown man was recently caught at Browns Park trying to meet up with a 14-year-old child. Now, it's saddened that took place. The disposition is as true as it true can be. It's recently reported through some of our local news broadcasters and news avenues, and the truth is there. Here's the other truth. This individual works along with this association who've been allowed and afforded the opportunities of being in our playgrounds during community functions, who are known to have taken pictures with some of our elected officials as proud moments because of these events. So the question still continues: who else is a predator and allowed to hover around our children in our communities without being checked? Recently, my colleague, Latoya Dunstan, recently brought it to the table, to the dais, that we need to go upon this legal format called the Carry Act. And the Carry Act enables whatever agency that's doing the hiring to review and put an evaluation process to ensure that this individual who's looking for a position of employment or volunteering meets criteria that is sensitive to the protection of children. So after lots of debate, back and forth, we assumed that we enabled this whole procedure after some debate, some rebuttal from the city council, from city council delegates, including some of the members, from the leadership, from the mayor's office, some rebuttal, some pushback. Then it was enabled. Then it was agreed on. But apparently the person who was supposed to put this in place with the exact wording necessary failed to put in the proper words to enable this to be exactly as intended. You know, we raised hell, brought it back up. Then all of a sudden, the discussion is that in the city, there's enough legislation, there's enough rules on the books to ensure that it does exactly the same thing that the Carry Act does. And because the Carry Act was apparently something that put in place in the statewide that enabled the state offices and state agencies to do what they needed for the state agencies, we could not mirror that legislation because we weren't a state agency. Tell me that don't sound foul. Tell me that don't sound like a damn scapegoat. Well, I raised hell. We raised hell again. And we're still raising hell because if we were to put things in place where we stop from functions taking in place in and out of our city when we have to, before it happens, and evaluate individuals and their participation, maybe we'd avoid a lot of these things that are taking place. Not to say it's perfect, because it isn't. We're human beings. We make errors. Systems and protocols are always fallible. So, but if there's one person we can catch, we can probably catch a lot more. In the last show, I showed a picture of how many registered predators or sex offenders are living here in Atlantic City. And there's some that are unregistered as identified on that same website, but they are known to either live or have once lived or have identified some connection with people in the community. So this website does a brilliant job to look for it. And they give you an idea of all those individuals. And they also give you a framework of the type of offense it was. It also enables you to understand whether they have moved out once they lived there before. And, you know, there was some discussion about people who lived outside. Like, you know, there's people always like to, for lack of a better term, shit on Atlantic City. But if you looked at that same website, you'll see that our neighboring cities that love to throw shit on us, sorry, buddy. You got a lot of shit that you need to clean up as well. It is a little bit too normal for the allowance of people who are sexual predators to continue to live in communities that tempt them to make these errors again. And what I've said in the past is we have too much of a comfort level with individuals who trespass against society, who do the most horrible things to the most volatile people on the planet, whether it's elderly or the seniors, most volatile. And we're allowing them to happen. We turn our cheek. We're like, nah, they good people, nah. We'd love to say there's good people. So I say this. If you're making a measure of what you consider good people by these people, then maybe you don't know what the fuck good is. Maybe you have an obscure sense of reality and good to you is actually bad. And because you see nothing but bad, that to you equates good because it's something normal, something that you're comfortable with. Remember, not everything that you're comfortable with is something that's helpful to you, right? Addicts, they need the fix to level themselves out to get a comfortable feeling. It's deadly, it's still harming them, but they need to get that balance. But it's still wrong. It's not good for them. But for the moment that they get that balance, they feel good. And this is with all due respect to people who are struggling and still fighting those demons. I applaud you. Continue to fight. We support you. But it's also a cry of wake up to the individuals that are out here in the business of vices, providing these people who are struggling with the things that they are struggling from or struggling against. Y'all are worse than the actual drug users, man. You guys are predators. And it's a damn shame. And I've always said, I'm not going to knock a man if his intent is trying to feed his family when there's no other options. However, you're still doing wrong. I can't knock him. I understand why. Still wrong, but I understand why. But in society, we've seen that a lot of times this is a repetitive behavior. We have people who have been drug dealers and pushers and drug users because their parents were drug dealers, pushers, or users. And their parents were drug dealers, pushers, and users. And or cousins, and or grandfather, and or cousins, second cousins, third cousins, detached. Is a tribe of individuals, the same type of behavior, the same coping mechanisms, the same thing. You have predators that beget predators. You got family members that are known, families that are known for having multiple members of being predatory. They're gangbangers or drug dealers, right? Drug users, people who are finessing or scamming. These are known predators. And what they do, line up with other people of like minds, and they support one another as they're going along because birds of a feather do flock together. Puerto Rico, they say, dime con quién tú andas y te diré quién eres. Tell me who you walk with, and I'll tell you who you are. Watch out, y'all. So as now we're walking into Memorial Day weekend, this is a remembering of those who've given their all, who've lost their life in war to help protect the lands that we call home. I send my respects to everyone. I pray homage to their sacrifice and their honor and the degree of commitment they've made to not only serve America, but for the hope that still manifests within us. And I want you to remember that. Memorial Day isn't just a day off. Memorial Day isn't just a time to have a cookout or to grab a beer and hang out with your dudes and, just drink or listen to some live music and pig roasts or whatever, because all that stuff is happening this weekend. And for some who come from other regions of the world who just celebrating to be celebrating, with all due respect, you enjoy your celebration, but please understand what we're celebrating is not what we're normally celebrating here today. It's supposed to be a memorial for all of the soldiers that lost their lives, who've given their all in battles abroad, and some even closer. Several here on our shores, some that have never been spoken about, some that are still fighting today. This is just to pay memorial to them. So it's 7:26 p.m. It's Friday evening. This is the New Norm 2.0 with Mo Delgado. And we'll continue with some more highlights based on latest discussion. Now, something tragically happened in San Jose. A man who recently was held by officers at the border coming from Mexico, coming into America, held a man who had evidence that he was a disgruntled employee who found hatred in his heart for mass amounts of specific people. It didn't seem to be race-based, but mass amounts of specific people. He hated working for a transit authority wherever he worked in San Jose. So he took it upon himself to come and murder. Took upon and murdered individuals. So he took many lives. In addition to, off of the coast of the Florida Keys, a boat overturned and some Coast Guard members that were out there trying to solve them also fell into the water and they have been missing. They're going to look continuously until they find the bodies of the individuals, and hopefully they'll find some alive. Let's keep them in mind. In addition to, we're seeing lots and lots every day. It seems like we find a new case of something that transpired in the recent past where police cameras were held at one point in time. The evidence or the tape was held from the general public and is just recently released about a disposition that may have occurred in the past or as identified in the video, where there's a police involved shooting or the death of someone of color, majority of them black, on the hands of policemen. We just found individual who, and I'm going to try to get the names as we go along. I want to identify them properly. But just this week, there's like 3 separate occasions where an officer, one had to do with a hog tie, which I thought was horrendously terrible, how that was a regular protocol for police officers to apprehend this individual. This man, you can hear him on the screen and you can hear him on the film screaming, "I'm sorry, I was scared." And protocol suggests that they should have sat him up. They didn't sit him up, and he laid there on his face. So they hogtied him. And according to the sheriff in the county, which I thought was kind of pleasant to see a female as a sheriff in the situation, despite the situation, it was cool to see a female. But as she answered was that protocol was wrong, and they were taught to do something different. And then all I kept thinking was the different protocol that was agreed on seemed to be potentially just as bad. But as the video showed, they drugged this man. They pulled on this man. They drugged this man. And you hear on the tape, the officer says horrible things about him. They beat him up. So he's wiping his hands and he says, I probably have some sort of infection on my hand or some viral disease is spread up on me. So it's horrible how that continues that way. So that's just one situation. It's horrible how it's going to continue that way. And there's going to be more and more investigation taking place. The situation that recently happened in Florida with the young lady. And more discussions are being involved whether the officer could have avoided killing her instead of tasing her, and then assumed the other situation where the female officer yelling taser, 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 but she had her regular side piece in her hand. There's a lot of debate going back and forth. But here's the situation. Even with that being said, with all these identifiable things to consider about the mishandling of heightened aggressive situations that end up in people being dead, the amount of discussion about defunding the police has diminished, has died. It seems like all these things are coming about, but yet there's a greater cry or a greater emphasis how we need to continue with more police officers and still enabling to do what they need to do to keep America safe. I'm wondering, is it authentic? Is it genuine? Is this whole situation, it's just a happenstance that all these things are happening? Or is it some sort of strategy behind all this stuff? And it's sad that I even have to consider all that stuff, all this as being a political strategy. But who's to say that it isn't? In America today, it's like my man says, only in America things happen. So that's things to consider. Now, on another point, all of my individuals all the people in the world who are so crypto crazy, you guys are so animate about the situation dealing with cryptocurrency. Well, as you notice, you see now it's more reports about the IRS, United States Internal Revenue Service, is coming at everyone who may have not filed properly paperwork on their income tax returns that identify any kind of gains they've had, any kind of sales they've had, any kind of transactions dealing with cryptocurrency. So that's without understanding, because anytime there's finances to be had or made, the IRS wants to know about it so they can tax you. The debate continues whether it's a viable taxation or it's not, but it's something y'all should have considered. Individuals that made investments, man, come on. Don't think you got free money. Now, again, this is the same, this crack dream. You guys are just high on this cannabis freedom in the world, smoking whatever you're smoking on these damn vapes, thinking that it's free money like PPP loans. You guys think you're hitting it. You know, that's not the case. I see Ricardo. Is it Ricardo the elder, Ricardo the son? It might be the son, because I see that. But I think some of you may have been so lost and high upon thinking that you're going to get yours. Finally, I'm going to become wealthy. That you're not thinking that for every step forward, there's going to be somebody watching those steps to see how much they can pull from it. So you got to be wiser about it. So individuals, you folks out there who are into cryptocurrency and making investments, contact your tax specialist. Do that. Check on it. And make sure that you cross your T's and dot your I's. Make sure that everything that you deal with cryptocurrency is identified properly. It's always about the investment wise. If you make a gain to it, then you're going to have to, there's such things as capital gains. So, there is such things as a payment that you should make for your taxes. It's only right. If Americans really loved America for what it is, we'd all pay our taxes, our share of taxes. And then for the tax base, for the tax usage, and those people are empowered to use those tax dollars, be more American. Take care of the American people. These stimuluses that take place, they were very helpful. Did they cure anything? In some instances, they probably did. In other instances, I think that's still out there, and we're still waiting to see the outcome. But the truth of the matter is that America could use a boost and a little bit more of a boost coming forward. There's still a discussion right now about the fourth stimulus. It's still being debated at this moment. The fourth potential stimulus could happen. And this one is more long-term. This one, I think you will see more details about this fourth stimulus come to fruition or come more visible to you and I as we have reports from the Memorial Day weekend. Because if you noticed, so much freedom is taking place. Everybody now, you get a chance to go out there without a mask and do this. It's an economic decision. That's solely what it's for. The secondary decision behind it, think about it, is probably to help with the mental health stress. And I can understand the mental health stresses that take place when people are masked and they can't go out and so on and so forth. And they're bugging. You see it today on all kinds of TVs. People are bugging. And so if you're trying to help as a governing body trying to do that, you're trying to see that this is a backdoor way of helping, that's cool. Whatever the situation is, hope it's successful. But once we get all the details from what had transpired over the weekend, you will see more of a concerted effort to move on this fourth stimulus, or a concerted effort to really break down what has transpired to support the concept for the stimulus. So let's cross our fingers, America. If you're still in need of this fourth stimulus check, hopefully the governing body will get it right. And they'll make motions and make moves to make it better. But in addition to that, you also have the child tax credit. You should be expecting it very soon. I think it's July 1st is the date. I think if I remember correctly, July 1st, everyone who is identified as having a child under 17 years old is eligible for a certain nominal amount. I think it's $200 in the beginning, and it may increase to $300 down the line, but the total amount is $3,000 and $3,600. $3,600 is the total amount of money that you'll get based on a monthly payment. So you'll get $200 or $300 extra dollars every month at the same time for, I think, a year. So for the full year. So hopefully that'll help as well. So I give all of the individuals who are involved as part of this move to empower America economically, I give you a pat in the back. Can you do better? Hell yeah. Because I'm still thinking the same thing. If all of this was done, what the hell could we have done before all of this took place to really empower and mobilize Americans to live a better life? What could have been accomplished? We're talking about billions of dollars that was spent recently. Billions, if not hundreds of billions. Imagine if we were to take some of that effort to take care of the infrastructure. some of the billions of dollars to take care of education, some of those billions of dollars to take care of some of the integral things that are part of the weave that makes America sustain. If we would have did that, it helped billions of dollars to help with the electrical grid, billions of dollars in the communication grid, billions of dollars in flight and aviation. We wouldn't be stopping now. We still have the supersonic airplanes. If we took billions of dollars to help with mass transit, we wouldn't have to worry so much about cars. We'd have tons of different options available all over the place, where smaller communities, rural communities, and inside the cities would have enough transportation. You wouldn't have to bring a car. You didn't have to take a car. We have mass transit. It'll be easier for you economically and easier on the environment. You know, you have people like Elon Musk that are at this point in time trying to push the concept of an underground tunnel that he developed, which is a great concept. And I saw it maybe 10, 15 years in movies. And I always say, if they showed it to you in a movie, trust me, that's already been in the plans and probably been executed. So I don't know as it continues. But these are things that we talk about. If all these billions of dollars are being spent now to try to help because of a pandemic situation, imagine what we could have used 30% of all the money that was spent to try to mobilize America in a more prosperous way. You know, what we could have done. But we are where we are now. So the idea is not to look back and try to push forward. So we're going to see as we move on. My man, Adrian. Okay, you're back on, bro. I'm sorry.
Yeah, disappeared for a minute.
Yeah, man. It's all good. 7:39 p.m.
Not bad. What's going on, man?
No, it's all good, man. We just talked a little bit about this, a little bit of that. Wanted to make sure that we touched on some of the vital issues that are going on. So we talked about San Jose, or I made a mention about San Jose, about the killing in San Jose.
Okay.
And how we're seeing more and more incidences with police and police activities ended up in people being killed. And also adversely how there's also a decrease in the request for defunding police. And I was just talking about how curious how that it seems to be. When we have more and more identified situations with police and misconduct taking place, how do we have less of a cry for police defunding? Is it because there's so much criminal activity that people are scared? Or is it just that the media is pushing one side more than the other? Because if you notice, all the stuff that we're seeing about police being the behavior issues that we've had with police officers, bad officers, and the killings that have transpired, you see it more from social media and internet-based media sources than you do our regular media sources. They catch up after the fact. So I don't know if it's part of the whole thing.
In Florida, they're dealing with a case right now. I was watching the news earlier, whereas there's 3 police officers actually been charged. They just turned themselves in either yesterday or today, because about a year ago, they actually suffocated and killed a black man down in Florida. So after all of the legal mumbo jumbo going on and stuff, everything came to a wash where they actually finally turned themselves in, for the murder of this young black man. And it's crazy because within the police department there are good cops, but then there are a lot of bad ones running around within the good ones. It's like good apples and bad apples. And the good apples need to get those bad apples out of there because they're making the good apples look bad. That's what it really boils down to.
Exactly.
So those cops are now facing charges and stuff, and they're about to be sentenced the whole 9 yards. So it's just a crazy mess. And when it comes down to as far as guns and all of these shootings, that's another situation there, because according to the ATF, I believe last year they sold over 8 million guns sold nationwide. People buying up guns like there's no tomorrow, Yeah.
Well, we saw how there was it seemed like we got scampered to buy guns when the last president was in place. When 45 was in, we saw America, the gun business, or the economy around guns has saw a big boom. We're talking about gun shows, armors, mills, people who sell guns, legal purchases here and there went up 500, 600%. Some of it having to do that we think it's the hatred and the fear that they was pushing. Some of it is probably just looking at, because of all the hatred and fear that's being pushed, shit could happen and you got to protect yourself. So I'm really Again, I'm at odds. I'm an anti-gun person, but I support everyone getting registered and get yourself a gun, because the way things are going right now and the way that society is, there's more potential for you being harmed in situations you've never thought of can be harmed. And I don't know if it can protect you. I really don't know if a gun.
You don't know. I'll give you a perfect example. Today, in Miami, Florida, Miami Casino there was a shootout at the casino down there. A lot of people haven't even heard of it. I was watching the news down in Florida once again. There was a shootout down in Florida at the Miami Casino, and this is broad daylight. Like 20, 30 shots being fired, and this one guy's hanging out of a car, shooting at another car driving down the street.
There's this.
It was like something out of Miami Vice, man. I'm telling you.
It's the savage truth, because just recently we just saw the same situation here in Lake City. Not the shootout part, because we've seen quite a few of that, but broad daylight, 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock, 11 a.m., broad daylight, in front of many, many people not caring. And we're seeing that situation that transpired in Millville, New Jersey, the mass shooting where the guys came in there, and they said that it's identified that the person who did the killing was out there to get a specific person, and the other people that got shot were just by happenstance that were there or by association. So I'm like, there's some cold-blooded individuals out in this world, man.
Yeah, crime never takes a break, man. I'm telling you, crime never takes a break.
And it's really sad. And I was expressing to my son, I said, there's a connection between the killer and people in Atlantic City. He has family. Well, they have family members here. So, and it's sad because I pray for the family members also. But I want to hear the shit about he was a good guy or he's a good dude. He wanted to kill another person and maybe he ain't as good as you think.
Yeah, exactly. If you were willing to take another human being's life,
yeah,
that's like the ultimate low. So you can't say that you're good, because then you're creating a paradox, a statement contradicting itself.
Yeah, because ultimately you're not going to hear me say he's a good person or he was a good person. Now, that idea with a good or bad, it's no longer in my purview, my luxury to say whether you are or you're not. Your creator is going to make the decision ultimately, and justice, if it comes your way, is going to have to make a decision. So
exactly, like I always say, there's 3 types of justices: God's justice, man's justice, and street justice. There you have it.
There you go.
One of them going to get you. One of them going to get you.
Very, very true. Very, very true. And I had touched up a little bit earlier about the situation that we got going still doing around in the city, how we have high level elected official involved in a situation where they may have known and or protected and averted using the justice system properly to protect that person who are allegedly sexually abused children. And my emphasis was more so we have a tendency of liking to turn our cheeks, turning our heads to the side in denial. And I had to emphasize that you had some people here over this past week and past week who you probably see them during the weekend. They'll pop up in social gatherings, and their sole plan is to push the mantra, push the image that they want to push to eliminate the doubt that they have about this individual. It popped up in a situation when people are just hanging out, having a good time, just being themselves, letting loose in the whole nine. This person pops up talking politics, and now how he believes that this person didn't do it is wrong. They're just trying to eliminate another black man. They're trying to make him look bad. It's the man. It's this way and that way, using tons of excuses in a social gathering to try to push the message. I'm like, these fucking people are they're predators, man. These are paid supporters going out into the community in social gatherings and other gatherings to try to push this message. And it's not because they truly believe it. It's only because they're trying to secure the money that they're earning from him. That's it. Point blank. Because if it wasn't for the money, you think they'd be hanging out at each other's homes? No. You think they call each other and make sure their parents are okay? Their mom's okay? No. You ever see them at their house before all the elections and all that stuff? Nope. So it is what it is. You're a prostitute. You're getting paid for your activities. You're a prostitute.
Like the good Lord said, there's nothing new under the sun, my friend. There's nothing new under the sun. You don't know how low a person will go until they're desperate. That's just the bottom line.
That's
You
true.
just don't know how low they will go until they become desperate.
That's true. And it's sad that things have gotten that way, where you see more and more people choosing to do desperate things. It's sad. But, you know, we'll do what we can. For those of us that try to still maintain, we'll try to maintain for us all and try to remind people there's a brighter way of doing things. There's a better way of doing things.
Yeah,
You
no
know,
doubt.
it's always there's beyond all the darkness that you may see, all the covered in the dwellings that you live in, man. There's sunlight. There's sunlight. There's a beacon of hope. There's chances for you, man. You don't have to trespass against another to get yours. You don't have to stab, rob, kill anyone to bring justice to the thing or to make yourself a living. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You know, you can always choose good over bad, always. But ultimately, there's consequences for all your choices. I think there's a lot less consequences in choosing good than choosing bad. But again, it depends on people's
You have the ability to choose. You have the choice is yours.
Yeah.
You know, it goes all the way down to the vaccine and wearing the mask, you know, the politics, the money, the whole 9 yards. Absolutely. At the end of the day, it's your choice. You choose. You know, you can pick the right one, you can pick the wrong one. But either way you look at it, make it a good choice because eventually it's going to fall on your shoulders.
Yep. And speaking about the max and the vaccines, man, they're starting to open up as of today.
Party on, Golf. Party on, Luke.
God, the state is opening up and people are acting the fuck up. And it's a thing. I mean, if you see it, man, you see younger people asking each other, you know, how many people are going to wear masks? And the majority of people saying they still are. I mean, you got some individuals who are, they're still, you know, they're like myself. You know, we're still apprehensive. You know, we're still kind of very in shock situation.
It's still the thing to do right about now because you don't want to get politics caught up in your life. That's just the bottom line.
Not at all.
You know, they want to play, you know, this role where, we're going to have the system, the honor system. So it's really up to the individual whether or not. This is America. They've already, you know, try to take over the Capitol, overthrow the government, the whole 9 yards. You know, I'll say to you, how much honor there is now. You know what I'm saying? I don't know about
Man, you hit it right on the nose. There's so much discussion about this. America doesn't understand what honor is. There's a consequence.
You know what I'm saying? The writing is on the wall. You know, there is nothing more to say. Just the bottom line.
That's it.
You know, the writing is on the wall.
And if you're trying to go on based on the honor system, boy, you're going to lose every time.
You'll lose it, especially in America. They've stolen land, they've stolen money, they've stolen souls. Come on. What more can you steal?
It's the American way, sad to say, right?
That's what they say, yeah. You remember back in the day when with Wall Street, you said greed was good? And a lot of those guys that used to say greed was good went to jail?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, yeah, it was good. Wasn't it? Good when you lasted, right? Exactly.
Exactly. You're only as good as your last show. That's about it.
Exactly. I guess we still got momentum. Yeah. But you hit it on the nose. I mean, the way things are going right now, honor system shit.
Yeah. That's just the bottom line.
I was cracking up when I saw that. When I saw the last remnant of hope, when I saw the Hard Rock basically put that in a policy as an honor system, I'm like, you know how many times you hear, and I hear this complaint always. You hear these party people come in, and they're, you know, drunk as hell, high as hell, whatever. And because they're spending money, they think they can do everything. And they don't want to adhere to any laws, no nothing. And I keep saying, these are the assholes that you got to, ain't no honor system. They're like,
come on, you're going into a casino to try to beat the casino out of their money that you already have some stable money in your hand that you probably cheated or ripped somebody else off. Mm-hmm. You know, where's the honor? There's no honor here. You know, looking at the big picture, there's no honor system here.
I don't even think that's part of the vocabulary. In casinos, I don't think that's even part of anybody.
It's not a part of it's not part of their vocabulary. You know, there's nothing honorable about it.
Honor, casino, it doesn't.
It's all about money and a damn thing funny. That's just the way it is.
That's sad truth, but we'll see how it goes, man. But I have a belief that we're going to be able to tell how do we move forward sometime late next week when people come home. Even the week after, people come home and find out how they feel. Because just recently I saw reports how the numbers of people who have COVID have maintained still at a high level. Our
Yeah.
death numbers still exist. We still have over 35,000 people in the state of New Jersey still struggling with COVID symptoms. And we have far more that are that way. But they're like, oh, we're looking good. We're looking good. We are? How the hell do we look good? I don't see how that looks good.
Once again, all of that stuff is being driven by money and politics.
Yeah.
That's what it really boils down to. Murphy's getting ready to run for re-election. The Republicans and them saying, "Hey, look, open up everything. We need to do all of this kind." It's money and politics, and
Yeah.
it's sad because people's lives are in the balance.
Yeah, like this app right here gives you a definitive number. Let me see if I get it clear. But the app itself gives you numbers that are somewhat realistic. It's kind of hazy.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can bring it back. But 648 cases of 648 deaths. It's 1.2% higher since last week. It's increased by 1.2% since last week. 31,510 cases, up by 0.1% last week. So if we have, to this date, 887,000 confirmed cases, and of those confirmed cases, 23,515 deaths. It is not a good day in Jersey. It's not a good time in Jersey. And even they showed the scale of how things are going.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're looking at the scale itself, it says late March into April 8th. April, it's Easter. It's identifying Easter. Around that time, we had a spike in the amount of people. So it just shows the trend is when you have an opportunity to be around more people at one time, you have a higher risk of catching COVID-19. So you want to go around without a mask because you think you're good, and you find out that you were vaccinated, you may have two things.
Yeah, because one thing, they're mentioning all of the vaccinated and stuff, Mo. But one thing they're not telling you is about the variants. There are 6 variants running around out here that could actually penetrate some of these vaccines. Yep. 6 of them. So the bottom line is, are you going to be the one to hit gold with one of the variants? This is the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
It's still out here. We talk about a vaccine, and yeah, that's all fine and dandy, no doubt. But these variants is a mother.
Hell yeah.
The last one I heard was the Indian variant from India.
But like we said before, the time where you see areas that have large spikes, then all of a sudden it's a variant coming from that spike.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like this virus develops specific tactics to attack certain areas, solely that area. And all of a sudden it becomes a variant. It's the same smart ass virus that we thought was just a flu in the beginning.
Well, the thing about it, because the reason why they're saying that these things are, the variant is basically a variation of the virus itself. Because remember, what happened in the Ganges River, after all of these people were taking a bath in the whole 9 yards and bathing and celebrating the whole 9 yards, and once it actually spiked, a lot of people were dying afterwards. So some people were burning the bodies. I know you saw that on television where they're burning the bodies. They were almost running out of wood to burn so many bodies. Then a lot of other people were throwing the bodies back into the river, and the river was spitting it out. Wow. You see, so they were handling this COVID body, and then then these people travel around the world to go to different places, mainly America. They bring these things back with them, unbeknownst.
Yeah. And you notice the traveling industry, the airlines, are starting to change their mandates and protocols too. Like they're starting to open up doors for flights all over the place. There's certain regions that are still closed that you still can't travel into, but there's a majority of countries that were once closed are now reopening.
But money politics. It's money. It's money driven. They're like, hey, look, if America open back up, the tourists have a lot of money. Let's get them back here. Oh, everything is spiked. Look at Japan.
Yep.
Japan, for instance, they're getting ready to have the Summer Olympics in Japan. The people of Japan do not want to have the Summer Olympics there this year whatsoever. But the government is saying, you don't have anything to do with this. We're going to have it any freaking way.
Right.
So this is what you're dealing with.
And did you hear how there's an increase in countries that want to boycott, that are saying they're going to the Olympic Committee saying that they shouldn't have it because of this situation?
Right. Yeah.
It's a large amount.
Yeah, only 2% of the Japanese people have been vaccinated. 2%. That's it.
Hi.
Hey. Like right after next. What's up, Miss Lady?
I'm just walking in the door, right? So I was kind of listening on the phone in the car
Mhm.
and, talking about this is political, like you said, Mo. It's new election time, election season, Adrian. And I watched the news today and they talked about the governor of Pennsylvania said that they're at 52% of the people in Pennsylvania being vaccinated. And he said it's not enough. They did lift some restrictions, but not to total like what Murphy is doing. And where do you think all those people are coming from this weekend?
You just
Everybody,
the expressway, the Parkway.
Hell
yes,
yeah.
everybody from Pennsylvania is
Yeah.
coming here.
Yep.
Okay. And they're not all vaccinated. You think they're gonna, like you said, you can't go by this honor system. You
No.
can't. And I mean, like I said, I'm just so disappointed in Hard Rock because, like I said, we had the huge 60-inch screens. People walking by, they appreciated the fact that we were at least doing temperature checks. They've taken all that out. They've
Yep.
taken it all out.
And in Connecticut, they're removing all of the partitions and they're taking them off all of the games.
Yeah. So all these people from Pennsylvania, where their governor said, no, I want to see 70% of the people being vaccinated before.
Yes.
He said, we are 52. It's
Yep.
not enough. That's half
Right.
of the population, but
And New Jersey is about 57. They haven't even gotten to 70%.
yeah. So
And Philadelphia's not going to reopen up everything until probably mid-June.
that's what they said. And they'll see what the percentage, how that goes. But I'm dreading going to work tomorrow. I really am.
A lot of people
that
are.
work today already told me. They said it was crazy in there today.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So I gotta work Saturday and Sunday. I'm dreading going to work.
These people are not going to the beach. They're going to the casinos. Simply the reason because the weather is going to be terrible.
Exactly.
3 days.
Exactly.
And the
That's
free-
another thing. The weather is going to be bad all weekend, so they're piling up in the casino.
Yeah.
And they're coming from Pennsylvania and every place else.
Yeah.
Free liquor. That's why I said
Ridiculous.
the city of brotherly love ain't got no love for us.
And not every brother is a brother. Remember that.
Yeah, exactly.
Not every brother is a brother.
All right, I'm signing off for now.
All right, we see you in the backstage there handling things.
Exactly.
the keyboards.
Yes.
Yep, exactly. The keyboard killer. Yep. But you hit it on the nose right now. It's just so much speculation, and there's so much hope, and all it is centered around finances and economy. That's it. They're not as concerned about the out. They're worried about, okay, I'm going to do all this stuff so I can try to keep people quiet and so they can try to make some money, and then we'll cover the losses after the fact. If we have a big spike of people, and we'll tend to it as it comes along. But right now, the want and need is money and having a good time, and all that stuff's the need. So it's a shame.
Or get a load of the latest one, because Murphy was on TV earlier today and he says now you'll be able to get vaccinated at certain points when you come to New Jersey. So when you come to New Jersey, you could go to certain areas and you actually could get vaccinated.
That's some shit there.
But you know something? What about Delaware? Delaware has a lottery that they're going to pay you $302,000. Your name will be put into a lottery. I mentioned that the last time.
Someone just million.
The same thing. Ohio has it for the next 5 weeks. This one lady's happy because she was vaccinated and she won the lottery in Ohio. And she picked up $1 million. No, California is getting ready to adopt the same type of concept.
That's some shit, man.
A lottery for getting the damn needle.
It's the initiative that has to take this. It's so much question, so much doubt. And again, this is the same thing. We're not anti-vaxxers. We're not at all.
Yeah, you say anti-vaxxer, but you're not even anti-vaxxer. You're a common sense individual, because things that's going on is not making sense to you. And that's the reason why a lot of people are reluctant, because they're getting mixed messages.
Yep. They're not coming through. It's not validated. The numbers that are done are questioned. And the minute they're questioned, you're seeing numbers that aren't true or aren't actual. So, you get to run into all those things, and then you wonder why people don't want to be vaccinated. I'm like, yo, if you were honest from the get-go,
but right now,
all the information that you need so people can make really concerted efforts to really decide things on an educated guess, and it'd be a lot easier for people to want to get vaccinated if you need to. I mean, the more and more I was doing lately, still considering, like I said from the very beginning, whether I want to be vaccinated or not. We just saw Gina. Gina should identified she had to take. She found out she had it when getting tested for antibodies. You know, and she asked again. She said, "Didn't you get vaccinated?" Yeah, Adrian got vaccinated. Yep.
Yeah, I did.
Yep.
Then my whole family, as a matter of fact, you know. So
as I was saying before, I said, me in deep consideration about vaccination, because I don't want to put my mother in jeopardy or my mother-in-law in jeopardy, even though she's gotten vaccinated.
right.
People still who have ongoing health concerns can still be subjected to harshness that COVID-19 does on body. You know,
Exactly.
Someone can be fully vaccinated and still be affected and harmed and potentially taken out because of the COVID-19. So, you know, those are concerns. But me looking at it, the more and more I'm getting information, the more it's like, what the hell were they thinking? You know, you put a side by side. There's one website I looked at that had the vaccinations. They had Pfizer, they had Moderna, they had AstraZeneca, they had Johnson & Johnson, and they had 3 others there. They were identified small doses in the whole 9 variants. They talked about how the efficacy rates. They talked about the potential of side effects. There was some with tinnitus. There was some with identifiable paralysis. And I'm like, if you look at those things, and if it's information, a person looking at it would be like, oh, wait, that's a concern. But if you see the research behind it, you'd be like, wait, hold up. That was in the testing phase. That's why it was. They went back and corrected. You give people a chance to really take educated guess to do so. Because if not, you know, then they make bad choices or they make choices at all. People are still thinking, you know, some of the thoughts. It's still a risk, you know. And then now you see more and more of a discussion about the booster. It's already talking about the booster.
That's my next thing right there, the booster. Exactly, because, you know, why would you really need a booster if the vaccine was doing such a great job from the get-go?
Yeah.
That's a common sense situation.
Yeah. But again, as we know,
common sense isn't always common. Common sense isn't always common.
Right. So we'll see, but it's a big concern about it. And the more and more I'm considering, the more I'm still having educated doubts, because I know I need to make sure I'm protected, make sure all others are protected. But the way society's putting limitations, you know, some places you can't get on a plane unless you're shown vaccination. The Aviation Association is saying they're trying to avoid from putting mandates like that on it. But more and more signs are saying that it keeps them covered as far as insurance if they have that type of limitation on things, and it makes it easier for people to feel comfortable to travel. I don't know, but with all these limitations and how things are going, you know, it sort of like puts intentional or unintentional duress on the average person. Like, damn, I can't go to school unless I got vaccinated. I can't have a driver's license unless I'm vaccinated. I can't walk into a supermarket unless I'm vaccinated. I can't go into a hospital if I need to because I'm not vaccinated. Yo, that kind of stress right there leans people to push that.
If you haven't been vaccinated, they would like for you to wear the mask. But then they try to say, well, and on the other hand, we're going to actually implement the honor system. Okay, but then the people who have not been vaccinated are blending in with the people who are vaccinated. Now you have nothing but the shit show in actuality. Because that's what it really boils down to. Because you're getting mixed messages. You know, so the bottom line is, you know, I was watching The View earlier, and some of those people from The View said the same thing. You know, that's why they call it the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. You have to use your own common sense. You have to use your own common sense. That's it. Because you're taking your life into your own hands. So you have to be responsible individual for you. Whatever you think is best for you, it's your life, it's your right. And that's what I'm a big advocate of. Right. You know, if you believe that you have to wear the mask, yeah, go ahead and wear it. There's nothing wrong with that. Protect yourself, protect your family. That's what it's about. Absolutely. You know, whether you've been vaccinated or not, still protect yourself. Right. That's what it really boils down to.
You just gave me I just got an epiphany. I was like, you know what can be an industry right now? helping people to learn common sense. I don't know if you can be taught, but it can help you. It's matter of fact, I know it's an industry because you'll see it in behavior modification. I see it consistently with people trying to be motivators and trainers and so on and so forth. Those are different elements here and there, but to a specific discipline to help people get a better grasp on common sense or common understanding on the rights and wrongs or the consequences and benefits of everything. How to outweigh things, to weigh things out properly. That could be the growing thing, man.
Well, I think that might be the way forward, starting in 2021, because there's a lot of things right now that do not and just does not make any kind of sense whatsoever. So moving forward, that's going to have to be like the typical logic moving forward.
Yeah, because I said it a little earlier. I said nowadays there's so many people, like the situation with the shooting that took place, the killing that took place in Bridgeton or Millville, where I've seen people say, "Yo, that was a good dude." The person who executed the shooting, they were like, "Damn, I don't know what the situation was, but he's a good dude." And I'm like, "Yo, if you keep saying these individuals who execute these bad crimes on people, these elements of deceit and murder upon people, and you're saying they're good people, maybe you have a problem with the understanding of good." Maybe there's so much bad around you that you don't understand what is good and what isn't good.
Apparently, they don't know the definition of good. That's just the bottom line.
Yep.
Hey, wow. Gina, is there enough emojis?
yeah, Gina, I know exactly. leaning on that button, ain't you, huh, Gina? Okay.
She leaned heavily on that button.
Yeah, she was. But that was one of the things that I was pushing a little earlier. I said, man, we have to really look at our thought process now, because we want to always try to look at the brighter things or the silver lining in things. But some things are so smack dang and obvious in your face that we're in denial and we don't want to, identify what's the truth. And the truth is going to knock you in your ass.
Some people love living on Fantasy Island, Mo. You have to remember that. They just love that place like crazy. You know what I'm saying? They're waiting for the sequel of Fantasy Island from back in the day. They just love living there. So, you can't teach stupid, so don't even try, and they don't pay you enough to do it any damn way, so why even bother? And that's the way I look. If you want to wear a mask, it's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. It's all gravy, baby. That's what I'm looking at. I think you just lied yourself off somehow. So you're still there.
I'm here.
Okay. Hold for a second. Hello.
Yeah, I'm having trouble logging on. I don't know what it's telling me to tap on some three dots and all that stuff on my application, but I don't know what to trouble.
You heard that, Mo?
Yeah. He never came on, so it's not a cookies issue. He's probably on an Apple phone. You know how people with Apple phones.
Are you on an Apple phone by any chance?
Yeah.
You know he is. It's a system break. He just has to update it again, go through it. That's all.
He says you just have to update it again and do it over. I'm on live with Mo right now.
There's a few people who've gone through the same situation and they had to go in. You got to go directly to the website. If you have followed the network through the connection, just got to take the steps. It's not like
so you have to probably he has to go to Facebook.
Yeah, or YouTube.
Yeah, he said go through Facebook, and you can actually on Mo's website there.
Okay, let me see.
Yep. So
come again.
You could tag me on that. Tag me in this.
He said, "Can you tag him?"
I'm coming in now, but I won't.
He said he's coming in now.
Just go to my page. All right, there you go.
Okay, I didn't get you.
You got it.
Yeah, that's it.
Derek wants to make a late entrance. You know how Derek is.
I don't see it on there.
You say you don't see it? Mo, just see. You say you don't see it on there?
It's there.
The live You guys on your live right now?
Yeah, we're live now.
I don't see on there. Let me check.
I mean, he ain't looking.
It does because when you're talking, Mo could hear you. So
Yeah. Hi, Gigi. She says good everybody. All right, tell someone send me email. Well, give me an email that I can send it to him.
you said if you could send him an email.
To his email?
What do you know? Gmail or some type of email, and he said he could actually do it that way.
I'm sending mine.
Yeah.
I'm Derek K. Brock at Gmail. Derek K. Brock at gmail.com.
You got that, Mo?
BREKK.
Yeah.
All right.
Derek K. Brock.
All right. Derek K. Brock. It is.
So sending me an email.
Yeah.
Let's see if it goes.
That's it.
You said you see it now?
Okay, nothing came up. There's nothing in it. It just says sent from when sent. But it's sent now. So there's nothing there. It didn't see no attachment.
I'm sending it again.
He said he's resending it.
Okay. No attachment on it.
You should see it.
He said you should see it now.
Okay.
Nick, you don't have to put on that. Mom, Nikki is watching.
Say it again?
No, I was talking to my mother-in-law there. Did you get it?
You get it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, fellas, make it happen.
Yes, she does. Yep. I don't think Facebook is going to put on there Mom Nikki. So, for anybody who's watching right now, we're just waiting for one of the people we invited on the show. His name is Derek Brock. We're going to speak a little bit about trades and the options that he chose and the realistic option for people who are not just recently graduated from high school, growing as adults that want to transfer and learn new skills midway, mid-swing to reinvent yourself. So we're going to talk a bit about his experience. And our brother, our co-host and our website admin is going to add on his experience because they shared experience together. So we're going to talk a bit about that because we've always been supporters of the concept of going to get trades training, additional training through a trades program because there's so much more to learn. There's so many opportunities available if you take these opportunities for what they are. So.
I apologize, but it looks like it's telling me that it's not going to allow me to do it through this phone.
You heard that, Mo? He said it seemed like it's not going to.
I heard it. I don't know why.
If you don't have a desktop, then you can join on your phone, but it's best experience usually best on a laptop or desktop.
Yeah, most of the people that we've had going through their phones. So it's not that it's impossible. Yep.
Hold on. Let me get there. Safari. Okay, let me see if I can copy the link. That's what I'll do. I'll copy it and put it through Safari.
Okay.
You might have filters in Safari that's eliminating that opportunity. I always try to tell people if you're using phones, you have options to use internet-based portals. If you have anything that's a Google phone, you don't always have to use Microsoft Edge. You can use Chrome if you don't want to use Chrome. You can use Mozilla. You have different internet sources that can help you because a lot of them are in cahoots with one another. So they'll block or make it a little more difficult for you to get to one website as the other because they want you to use their website. It's always like that, man. It's the same old Big Brother thing. So you're coming through. It's taking a second. Your device is not connected yet. You're there, so you made a connection. It's just your device is not connected.
Hold on.
Man, I gotta go to the dentist this week. I got a little cracked tooth that's starting to hurt.
I'm going to close up.
If it doesn't come through, try it, reboot it, and do it again. Because you already have the pathway to get on. All right. While we're waiting, did you see the mother sister, Miss Fletcher, talking about the Tulsa massacre killing? It's the last known survivor. Did you get to see her?
No, I mentioned last week as far as the Tulsa situation, there were still individuals, I believe 3 individuals that are still alive today.
She's one of them, 107 years old. Miss Fletcher.
Yeah, exactly. She's one of them. There's only 3 of them left.
Yep. I was able to watch the time that she was there. She still has, at 107 years old, she's still clear in her mind and sensibility, very sharp, spoke very clearly. Aging is not an issue for her mentally, and she was able to basically paint a picture that everybody needed to understand at that time. And it was, you see an elder that have gone through that type of hardship and can witness it, self-witness. It's an amazing thing, man.
Yeah, especially they're part of history. There's no doubt about it. Definitely part of history.
A history that they tried to eradicate or eliminate, or try to make it a disappear. He hung up.
He's coming in now?
No, he hung up.
Yeah, I heard.
We'll see. But it seems to be an issue for individuals who may be accustomed to going in through like Zoom.
Okay.
Remember, because in the very beginning when we transferred over, it was a little difficult for us to get used to it. There we go.
He's coming in.
Look. With the traditional pink shirt, my man be rocking them pink
polos. Yeah, there he is. There's the maestro.
You got to have some sort of, investment. You better have some investment dollars going in from Polo, boy, because I think you rocking.
Hey, man, listen.
Show, brother. Welcome to the show.
It matches my complexion well.
Exactly. I like that.
You've been hanging out in Florida too
long. You know what? I want to tell you guys what the problem was.
Okay.
I had
you sound like you got no problem, Derek.
He was trying to explain the situation to us.
it sort of like came out like, yo, it's your cousins again. Adrian, tell us honestly.
Yeah, man. He's been having a hard time with this quarantine. We out in full bloom right about now.
He's trying to come back on. Okay.
Yeah, I basically had you on the phone at the same time, and I had to get you off the phone in order to use this, and that's what the problem was the whole time. Talking to you guys at the same time, trying to figure it out.
Okay.
So I'm here.
Welcome to the show, brother.
For having me.
Hopefully, this will be the last time I've told you many times, come on the show when you want to, bro. I was giving you that opportunity before, but thank you for coming on tonight. Tonight is talked about some concerns a little earlier that I know you probably want to chime in on, but I wanted to focus a little bit about what was presented to me as the contact. I noticed how you and brother Adrian had shared some space and time at Penco Tech. So, and we've always been like very supportive of people learning skills or secondary skills, the non-traditional way to learn in trades programs, because we're very strong advocates to believe that America is built off of the trades and off of the blue collar workers type deal. So, you know, we applaud the fact that you went. I remember when you first started taking them classes over there, I would say, yo, that's cool, man. That's cool of auto mechanics. I mean, working with your expertise, I said it made sense, man. So, but tell us a little bit about what gave you that drive to want to do that.
You know, it wasn't an overnight decision. You know, I was fortunate enough growing up as a kid where I had uncles that knew a little bit about cars, and I remember years ago working on a Plymouth. Remember those big Plymouths, those big giant cars, big wide Plymouths,
inducing
big ones. Yeah, and they put that plush interior. Yeah, you remember that. And I was a kid. I was a kid, but just stuff like that. And then growing up and just seeing men working together around a car, you know, there's always been something I always seemed like it just drew me to that because it's like a form of camaraderie, you know, to share that interest with another man. You know, guys are talking about what's going on with the car, and me being a child, not really fully understanding this was like something I always wanted to know, you know, because I always I love cars. I've always been a car person my whole life. And then I eventually ended up in transportation. You know, ended up in the transportation business. And after 28 years of doing this, like a light bulb came on and said, you know what? I could have had a V8. You know, it's one of those moments, you know. And I really felt like that, you know. It was like I could have done this like years ago, you know. And but it was like maybe raising a family and having children didn't allow the time or the finances to focus on doing that. So, you know, when you got certain priorities, you know, and then trying to run a business at the same time, you know, it's like a lot of commitment there to try to expand into something else. And it take you know, you already got your kids going to cheerleading practice and all this other stuff. So, but when my kids grew up and they all moved out of the house, it seemed like a natural thing. Feels like now I can finally take care of me, you know, and do something I want to do. Because you make a lot of sacrifices for your children, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I always wanted to work on cars, and I thought it would be a natural transition from being in transportation to learning to work on cars, because it kind of goes hand in hand. And it really been a really exciting venture for me. I never intended or knew that I would be loving it as much as I did. But one thing I tell people, if you're going to do something, do what you like and do what you love. You know, and to me, that's where success tend to lie. You know, it's not always about money. Success, people try to equate success with money, but success to me is just happiness and being able to provide for yourself.
Loving what you do. Loving what you do.
Wisdom,
yeah, loving what you're doing. Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
So that's you know, that's how I got there.
I appreciate that. And for those who may not know, Derek ran a business or runs a business that traditionally was the first Black-owned transportation company in Atlantic City. So it's a lot of history. Mutual Cab Company.
Yeah, actually, my cousin actually has been running that since I got into this auto technician thing. I've kind of fell back from the transportation. I felt like I was getting kind of burnt out from that after 28 years of that. And also, like you said, I felt like I wanted to prove to, like you said, to people that you don't have to, you can change lanes and be different. You know, you don't have to stick with things, and you can still make it in life. So I always felt like that's another thing I wanted to show people. You, like you said earlier, you know, just because you're older, you don't have to feel like you can't do anything else in life. You know, you're not at the end of the road. You know, you're just never too old to learn. There's more opportunity out here, and just seeing people see me as an older person taking that chance can inspire someone else to maybe take a chance and do something they wanted to do in their lifetime.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. I applaud you, brother, because you know, the skill and craft that you learned, it takes a lot of effort. I mean, once you master it, you're the man. Everybody's going to want you as the best friend. You know, you're going to have to be on call all the time. But if you see all the elders who have mastered that craft, they're like, their backs are hurting, their bodies. It takes a lot of effort, but it's one that irreplaceable. You know what I'm saying? So I applaud you, brother. That's the type of thing that we try. My wife and I are advocates for people, blue collar workers. All the stuff about being doctors and lawyers. That's great. You know what I mean? But America's run in the economy from the people that we need things on a regular basis. We need auto mechanics. We need chefs.
Well, see,
go ahead. You about to say something?
See, one of the things also,
Mm-hmm.
I named my company Community Auto Repair for a reason.
Okay.
Being Atlantic City is so small,
Mm-hmm.
We have to take that approach to business as a community-based business because we all kind of know each other here, and
absolutely,
sometimes we need each other's help,
mm-hmm.
And I've helped a lot of people, in situations already doing this type of work. People
Mm-hmm.
calling me, hey, my car won't start.
Right.
Could be my neighbor, and I go outside and there's a young lady, she's single mom, but I don't charge her this. Let me see, pop your hood. Let me see what's going on.
Right.
Try your car now. Okay, go on about your business. And
mm-hmm.
that to me is like a necessity in our community because I looked at things. When you look at certain things in the community, transportation, auto repair, even the fact that I do tax preparation as well. These are areas of real concern for us. We have to be able to get from point A to point B. We have to be able to have our cars fixed. A lot of times those two things alone are very expensive. All of us own cars. You guys know. The upkeep of a vehicle can be just the insurance and the car note and the repairs and the gas. It's a lot involved in maintaining the vehicle. And sometimes people's money is not always there,
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I looked at the fact that there's not a lot of African-American mechanics locally that's born and raised here in Atlantic City that we can go to that we know personally. So I felt like that's another thing that can be an asset to the people because they know me and they can talk to me. They may say, Derek, I might not have enough, but can you help me out? And maybe I'll pay you Friday, or maybe I'll just give them a break altogether and say, well, just give me $40 and fix it for you, and everybody's happy.
Right, creative finance.
It's a lot to that community-based thought process. Why I named it Community Auto Repair. It's not just about making money. It's about being here and trying to build a community and work together as a community.
I like that. I think a lot of us within the same age bracket, we've taken a big look at things the way life is. Some of us have gotten the epiphany and tried to put our targets to better serve the community and better serve one another. Others are still involved in their own endeavors and may not have taken that leap, but there's quite a few of us that have done that. You know what I mean? They're still trying to do what we can do to help the community. And although not many of us, we try to be supportive of one another because we can identify on one hand the people who are, and you can always mention them and we shout them out. We give them whatever kudos and credit they possibly can. And like yourself, just earlier you talked about.
I really appreciate you guys.
Nah, man,
I really appreciate you guys just even considering me to come on here. That tells me that you guys are paying attention to what's going on around here. And I really appreciate, you guys just even saying, hey, Derek, come on out here and let's talk about your business. I think that's something that we should be doing more of. Entrepreneurship, to me, is at the heart of our oppression. Economics is at the heart of our oppression as African Americans and people of color. And I think the more of this that we have, and I think COVID has stimulated a lot of entrepreneurism,
opportunities,
and entrepreneurship. And I'm happy to see people like you. You even have your coquito.
That's tradition.
It's a long-standing tradition, huh?
Yeah, we make liquor. That's how the family got by. We made liquor.
The thing about it, Derek, because like I said, we do pay attention. There's no doubt about it. For one, I listen to different, avenues, different areas when it comes into news and broadcast. I follow differently. I'm not just stuck in one area because, like you said, you attended Penco Tech. I went to Penco Tech back in the early 80s. And that's when I actually attended Penco Tech. I worked at Bally's, and on my days off, I would actually travel all the way up to Blackwood, New Jersey. So because, like I said, the education is very important. It reminds me of a joke, some time ago that I came across. This one guy was on a date with his girl, and what happened? The car just automatically just stalled out. So both of them just sat inside the car and looked at each other. And she said to the guy, "Aren't you going to go out and check the engine to see what's going on?" And the guy looked at her and he says, "Okay." He walked out, popped the hood, looked at the engine, and he said, "It's still there." You know what I'm saying? The engine is still there. That's what I'm talking about. We have the tools to succeed. It's a matter of just getting together, partnering, and that's the only way we're going to overcome these hurdles. That's what it's all about. Because, like I said, it's a community, but first you have to have unity within the community in order to succeed. And that's what you call having each other's back. That's what it's all about.
Well, fortunately for most of us guys that's been here for quite some time, growing up here, guys like in our 50s, if you've been in Atlantic City for a long time, years ago we had all those things here, and we didn't have to go outside the community for pretty much anything. We had our own repair shops, and
yes, it is.
You had it, you name it, we had it. So I feel fortunate, and a lot of times I feel like I'm vicariously living through those people because I feel like I owe it to them. That's how I feel. I feel as a local person, Black, that grew up here, and you got these guys that Bob McCurdy's and these guys that tried their best to, to sustain their businesses, and they were somewhat successful, So to me, I feel like we owed it to Sonny Lee's and all these guys that maintained their independence in a time when it was much harder.
Yeah,
they did it when it was much harder.
Right.
Understand? So I feel like I owe it to a lot of those guys, the Mo's Chickens and these guys that you know what I mean? Yeah. These guys had successful businesses.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I feel like I'm just speaking for entrepreneurs. I'm not speaking for people that want to have a job and stuff. I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying if you want to be an entrepreneur, we owe it to them because they opened those doors for us.
Right.
They literally did, even though they didn't put a handle and open the door literally. But if you look at the history and how we got to where we are today, they had something to do with it, indirectly or directly, one way, shape, or form or another. So I feel like, I feel fortunate to grow up in a. Go ahead.
You said something that's really important, being an entrepreneur. Because being an entrepreneur, you must be a risk taker. You just cannot accept failure, as your game plan. I've failed many times, but I've learned from your failures, and that's what makes you a much better person. It's like walking. You just didn't come up out of your mother's womb and just started walking around the block. You had to crawl, you had to stand up, you had to fall before you start walking. These are all learning curve, and we all have to go through that learning curve one way or another, and you're never too old. And that's my philosophy, because I've seen a lot of people graduate from college and they're in their 80s, and they all graduate from high school in their 70s, and they're like, this is something that I've always wanted to do because it needed to be done. It needs to be done. And that's what it's about. If you're an entrepreneur and you want to be an entrepreneur, get out there and take the chances like you have done. I've done the same thing, and that's what it's all about. Taking chances, a risk taker.
You know what? I've come to find out. I'm in the mindset that the industry itself, the casino industry, has been part of the reason why we failed as a community. Because one is they used to always hoard all resources solely to their community and their likings and their target people. So we didn't get a chance to get our businesses, part of that economic loop to be able to eat off of that same stream. They've also limited whether they gave access to people who were coming to their sites, and they told them this whole big strategy to make Atlantic City this horrible, dark, scary thing where they had places they could have went through in the city itself so they can hang out and travel and spend their money at the small businesses, small restaurants, locations, go out in Atlantic City and support this whole concept. And I think that's been part of the mechanisms that have been holding a lot of the entrepreneurship in Atlantic City. And now with such a large immigration that's taking place to Atlantic City solely for those tourism dollars, that it's less of it available for the general population to share from. So the more and more we look into this arena, there's so many avenues that we can identify that could be potentially the reason why, outside of our own sometimes social dysfunction. And when I say by social dysfunction, because we identified some of us are willing to spend $600 and $700 on a shirt that has an Italian name on it, but don't want to pay an extra 30 cents for some milk or bread at the corner store of a black-owned business. You know, we don't see that the equivalence. We don't see that value. We don't see the value of being able to sacrifice what little we are to help that business solidify and maybe go up, you know, and potentially get a return on the investment in the long term. You know, so we have a social dysfunction.
But Mo,
good.
You know, you're hitting on a really sensitive topic for me. You know that because as a local entrepreneur, I've always envisioned and seeing Atlantic City more locally owned and operated businesses within our city.
Right.
You nailed it when you started saying that they didn't fulfill the full obligation to the residents of Atlantic City.
Right.
When they tore down a lot of those old buildings and created vacant lots, to me, I felt that was somewhat by design because it created no opportunities to a certain extent because usually for an entrepreneur like myself, a small person, you could take an old building and get maybe a discount on it and fix it up and rent it out. They'll rent it to you and you can start your store or whatever. But when they created these vacant lots, it actually created a plot of land that made the price be exorbitantly higher than it's really worth. And the entry into the market to start a business is above normal person's head. So that's what created this big problem here because we allowed the CRDA to come in and then vacate everything. It sounded like a good idea initially because we did have a lot of older buildings, but if they would have took the time to maybe refurbish most of that stuff and rehabilitate it, then it would have been more opportunity because you hit it again when you said now there's not enough places for us to do what we need to do. Like you said there's not enough places. Like that's what you said in a sense is even though we might want the opportunity, there's not enough places for us to start. Where are these buildings at? Where are you going to open up a store? All the buildings are pretty much taken up, you know, majority of them. So that created a big issue. And you know, I don't want to get too far into that, but I'm hoping that there's eventually a turnaround in Atlantic City in the mindset. I'm glad that you're saying these things because I feel like as you as a councilman, it's important that our leadership say these things because to me, for a long time, we've been silent, all of us to a certain extent. I don't blame one person. I say we're all liable for some part that we all played in this, even though we might not all accepted it wholeheartedly. Maybe we didn't fight hard enough as we should have because we just allowed the CRDA, you know, to do whatever they're doing when we should have been more of a coalition of residents to knock down the doors together. You know, get 150 people to show up every meeting, 200-300 people to pack the room.
They can't take something that we don't give because, you know, they took it because we put it on the table because a lot of things, you know, a lot of people never really stood up for, and the politicians just went along with the same okie doke and they fell for the scheme. And they thought the dream the dream was a scheme. And that's what it really boils down to. You know, and that's where it started out because you can't take something that, you know, that you don't give. You know, the state took over, the CRDA took over, because the people in City Hall may have fallen asleep. You know, and that's what happens. You know, we elect people. The first thing somebody's judging is if you want to change things, start with the politicians that you elect. Make sure that they actually see the things the way you're seeing things, and then things will begin to change.
Hold on. Because what we need to change is we need to change the way we think of things. Because we're too often led with this concept of a Superman concept. We're thinking one person will come in and swoop in and change everything for the better.
One person
exists, and I'm like, nah. As long as we keep having that mind state and we're keeping pushed on that mind state, we're going to keep having the same results. Because what's happened in the past, everybody's like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. When you know you can't do it alone, you're part of a whole new system, an ecosystem. And if you're not willing to change the whole system and the protocol, there's not going to be many changes that goes on. So change is inevitable and it's necessary, but it's got to be from multiple angles. Some of the issues that we have is that the true honesty is that a lot of us have price tags on us. Let's be honest. You got some people with price tags. They're like, yo, the only thing I want is to make this amount of money. And if I'm making that money, I'm good. That's the whole concept. And not only from the political standpoint, from the people in elected officials, because you got some people that made a hell of a good living from the benefits of being in an elected position, right? But then you got other people who benefited from being supportive of these elected officials. In recent times, you have people who are buying land continuously, over and over again, buying pieces of properties because they're told and they had to hook up in the whole nine, not thinking to renovate the community, not thinking to develop a community center, not thinking of building a school for a community, daycare, anything that we know we need. Nah, they want to do to get a B&B because they're going to make this money. The problem is that we have too much of an atmosphere of a predatory sense. When you talk money all the time, you're not talking about value. And you said it earlier, it's not always about value in the money. If you do things right, if you do things in a cohesive state, you're going to be taken care of because that's how the cohesive state does. It's going to do that. Everyone's going to get their share if you do things right. You got to be inclusive, and you also got to exclude the people who are parasites. And we have parasites. We've got lots of parasites that love to talk a good game, but nobody wants to do anything, and nobody says shit. And we got to call people out. That's what I said, Derek. I applaud you because sometimes you've been in a situation where you're calling people out. You know what I mean? And then in some situations, it was a strategic thing. But the points that you were making were valiant and they were valuable because those are things that need to be said. And when it comes to African-American community, the biggest dilemma that we have sometimes is that we're getting in our own way. It's not the CRDA, because you said it before. They're only allowed to do what they're allowed to do. If we allow them to do it, they're going to do it. The state itself, same thing. Mm-hmm. You don't see us running for a state government because we're looking at small fry. We had enough people.
Last week. I mentioned that last week. We don't run for governor. We run for mayor. It's like, where's your dreams at? You know, the governor makes the decisions. Yeah, the governor's bigger.
Exactly. We got people that can be running for state assembly, state senator. Now, we're not thinking of that. Everybody wants to be a council person or mayor. Great, that's good. Yeah. But what about those positions? Or area or support. And in addition to that, sometimes you have more power without any title. The idea is being able to put your efforts into action. When you go out there and you create these initiatives and you go out there and speak about what's right and you carry that message along, that message is attached to you as a leader because you're carrying that message. And the more and more people get enriched by it and see the clarity that comes through it, you're leading others. And that essentially is so helpful. And some people, they say a lot of shit and really have nothing to say. But then you got some people who have wisdom galore, but are so frustrated because everybody else is getting in the way, they don't get a chance to say anything. So we got to tap.
Well,
go ahead, brother.
I think the simplest way, you know, because I'm very Jimmy always calls me Brock Logic, right? Jimmy Whitehead. So he calls me Brock Logic. And I always, and he says that because I think everything from a simplistic way.
Okay.
No matter what it is, I always break it down to the most simplistic way of dealing with things. And then I always feel like you work up from there. And I think the biggest issue that I've seen why there's no real cohesiveness in our city, because when we do elect someone, we don't get behind the person, the people that lost doesn't get behind the person that won, and the people that won don't reach out to the people that lost. And I think being that this is a small city, that's the way it should really work. We should be humble enough to each other that if I'm running for mayor and I lose and then you win, then you should either reach out to me or I should reach out to you, and then you should embrace me because obviously I have something to offer, because if I'm coming and saying I want to be the mayor, I obviously have something to offer. And especially if somebody voted for me, I don't care how many votes I got. If somebody voted for me, that means I have something to offer. So we should embrace each other and then grow from there, because when we lose, there's so much bitterness and animosity that all that does is carry on for the next 4 years, and we're back at the same situation again. So to me, what we've been missing in our leadership and why I'm so critical of that, because I've seen that with Langford administration and with Marty, I've seen them take things so personal. And I think if you're going to be the mayor, you should be the one that should be the one unifying the people.
Right.
Because I think that's where we're making a big mistake. It's okay to battle each other in the field, but when the smoke clears, we have to work together. We have to. It's imperative. And there's no other way. And that's where I think we made the biggest mistake as residents and as people that we're electing. We're not unifying. And we shouldn't have 3 or 4 people running for mayor in a small town like this, because if we were all together, we know, okay, this person is good for us. He can be the mayor or she can be the mayor because they're doing what we as citizens want them to do. Instead of just, like you said, a title. It shouldn't be about no title. It should be about what you're bringing to the table and then us supporting it as residents. I don't have a problem supporting you, Alan, myself, or whoever, if we all have the community best interest truly at heart.
But you know what? I think
it
exposes some of the things that we have an issue with. One is the us versus them thing is because we've been taught to hate one another more than love one another.
That's true.
We've been taught more to disrespect one another than respect each other's existence. That's why you see people have a problem just speaking. So our communities are falling apart because we have lost love. So something we have to implant is try to figure out how to find a way to love and appreciate each other more and stop taking it so it's deathly personal. When it shouldn't be deathly personal. It's not attacking a person's life, and it shouldn't be about attacking a person's life. It's about professing who is the better person for the position. And I think that's
and hold them accountable, Mo, and holding them accountable.
That's right.
Absolutely, but not just at the election. For everything, every step past it. And holding accountable also means to be there. If a person is trying to do an initiative, be there in support. If you see something that's wrong, speak to that individual ahead of time. You have to be along with it because they're going to be a conduit, or they should be a conduit of your voice. But if you have no voice, then they have to make up something. They're going to, a lot of times, make up the wrong decision. If you leave them to their own, because then you're going to have some parasites in the background waiting for a chance to get in the ear of that person. No one else is trying to be that barometer of the right choice in their ear. Then that person who's solely there for themselves is going to get that best benefit because that person's in the ear. We're talking about human beings, man. That's the part about it. We're talking about human beings who have, who are placed in a situation of choice. And I called this a little while ago, I called this the witching season, because right now we're in a situation trying to figure out which candidate is the better. Which one is going to get dirty? Which one just sent me this flyer talking about someone's life? Which one is a lot of witches? We're trying to find and discover what we're receiving and who's sending it to. And the problem is the kind of stuff that brings us apart. Good leadership has to be something that comes from the community. You know, I think a person that comes from the community, it's always going to be a better person than someone who's always lived off the fat, who doesn't know what it is to struggle. You know, if you have a community that's filled with struggle, if you have a community that's of everyone's entitlement and living high off the hog, then of course someone who has that same frame of mind might more than likely be the best choice for them. But we don't have that. We have people who are struggling, who have been struggling for generationally, sad to say, and then we got some people who are living a hell of a good life. So you got to find some barometer in between, you know, some sort of gauge. But you hit on those, man. You identified quite a few things, and you know what? In all honesty, a lot of us know what the problems are. It's just a lot of times the solutions that we bring in get quelled or silenced from all the screaming of me, and all the screaming of I want. There's so much greed in a community that's desperate, and you'll see it, man. And some people use that against us because they're greedy. Like this one individual seems to pay everyone for everything. Every time you turn around, he's giving someone a job. Where's all this money coming from to pay for these jobs? And if there's always been there, why didn't you give out jobs before? And if there was potential for employment, why are you giving someone so much of a big boost in this salary that equates to 3 jobs? If you were really looking to benefit the community. But it is what it is. But
I agree with you. I agree with you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. I had this idea that I was going to start a nonprofit for Atlantic City, um, almost like a political action committee group, nonprofit. And what I was going to do was I was going to try to educate people, because what I'm finding out is, even though guys like you and Alan and myself, we have a working knowledge of a lot of things, unfortunately, Atlantic City is a kind of low educated city. You know, not to put the people down, but you know, we don't have to. We don't. You know, we have some people that aren't really that bright, unfortunately. But they're not saying that they can't be taught or they can't learn. It's just they're not being taught certain things when it comes to politics.
Right.
So that's where they're being exploited a lot of times. So I was thinking about starting this nonprofit where we can start having group meetings and different things where we can start educating people to the, not just locally, all the way across the board, because there's a lot of involvement from the primaries and all this other stuff and the midterm elections. A lot of people, I even just learned this stuff in the last 10, 15 years myself, you know, about the whole process. You know, I was one of the ones that just voted in the national election and didn't know nothing about there was a midterm election right after that we need to follow suit with. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And most people are dropping the ball as Democrats. We don't even know. We're supposed to keep voting. After the national election, we got to vote again.
Yep.
Who knows? A lot of people don't know that. They just thinking Donald Trump and Joe Biden. After that, they go back in 4 more years. That's it.
Yeah. Myself.
So it's about education, man.
Oh, it very much so. I know years ago, about a good 9 years ago, myself and a couple of my partners, including like Joe Carter and everybody else, we were thinking of developing a leadership academy to help young minds learn what we used to learn back in the day, or what was available, civics class. We used to have part of a curriculum, civics class, that would teach you about these things. Politics, local politics, and how policies are made, how certain avenues of politics affect you in one way or the other. Like, general folks don't understand that the county jail, that's a county freeholders commissioner type thing. And all the things that are issues as far as that concerned, they're the ones that have to answer to that stuff. They think it's part of the justice system from the state. No, that's the county side. So they're not aware of that. They're not thinking about the engagement that you get when you're in a need situation. If you're going through subsidies, right? These subsidies go through the county. So this is subsidies that are going through the county. So that's, again, people in need going through an avenue that are regulated by the county government. They're thinking local government, or everybody want to think is the president. No, it's not the case. Or laws and stuff. They just don't know where to point their frustrations or their potential solutions. So,
you know, even like in the foreclosure arena there, you know, Mo, a lot of stuff is the county that actually takes care of all of the foreclosure cases. But a lot of the foreclosure is done in the city. The city government don't even handle that. They pass it over to the county. So the county handles damn near everything over the cities. You know, so a lot of people don't know where a lot of these cases are being hidden. You know, and that's what's happening these days. Because if you have like X number of foreclosures or moratoriums and stuff, they don't know, because the county operates everything. You know, the judges are by the county. You know, there it is again, not by the cities.
Absolutely.
You know, so the county plays a very imperative part, you know, in this entire puzzle right here. And once again, a lot of people want to run for mayor, they want to run for city council, but they don't want to run for state senator, and they don't want to run for governor. That's where the power really is. If you really want to make a change, start from the top. You know, or work your way to the top. Either way.
They don't want to run for the civic association. They don't want to run for the school board. They don't want to run for the party positions. There's a lot of don't wants. There's a lot of people who want to lead, but never want to do the work to get there. They never want to really work. They just want the title. They think they have the ultimate power to do so. And a lot of individuals that successfully get to that point find out when they get there, oh shit, it's not what I thought it is. And they become unproductive and they get frustrated and so on and so forth. So, and there's a lot of details that folks are just not aware of. So I applaud you, Derek, in this endeavor that you're talking about. I think that's necessary. We need to be more informed about it. There's supposed to be organizations that have already established the vote by mail. I mean, not vote by mail. Vote or Die, the one that P. Diddy did. It's a national organization. Both the Latinos and National Organization. These are organizations that are supposed to do that. But you only see or hear of them when you talk about a national decision to be made, like president. But we can always call and request them on a local level to come down and inform us. And also, we have avenues where we can use the local schools like Stockton, Rutgers, Rowan. We can ask them to come in, their political science department to come in and help educate some of the youth. Even talk about mock debates and talk about the process. The thing is, some people are not really aware. So I'm keying in on what you said about some of us in the community are not aware. The ignorance is just something that we're just compelled to be overwhelmed by. Because if we, and it's sad because the society, the community that we have feels like, why am I going to learn anything in addition to if it's not going to help feed my family? Because that's how we've always been. We've always been work related. If it's something that I can help my family with.
Yeah, we condition to focus on survival, boy. That's all we got time to do is focus on survival. If you can do anything about that.
Yep, we're survivalists, man, and we do it successfully. I mean, generationally speaking, Atlantic City's North Side was admired, and it should be admired still to this day with how much success goes on. And not just the entertainment, because I think that's another confusion that we have. Our youth right now, everyone wants to be a star. Everyone wants to be a rapper. Everybody thinks they have it to do. And we're not thinking about the other parts. And there's some young folks that do it, and they choose to take their training, to become specialists in heating and ventilation and air conditioning. I'm like, yo, you're the star, bro. Because you took that non-popular side, but you're about to make it count. Everyone else is talking about having that big house and that nice car. You're about to buy it. Why? Because you are certified. Nobody can take that from you. You've been educated, and then now you are more needed than them weak-ass songs that you hear on the radio.
So you're right about that. And another thing good about it is once you have a craft, you can actually hone it to a point where you can become a sought-after expert. Yeah, because the way you apply yourself,
absolutely
makes a difference. So the sky is really the limit when you have a craft like that, because there's, like you said, there's something nobody can ever take from you, and the resources today are phenomenal to get to know more, because we have this, internet now where you can just look for anything you want to know. So me and Alan was talking about the Haynes books. Remember, Alan, we're talking about
Adrian.
Back in the day. Oh, Adrian. I'm sorry, Adrian. Yeah. No, you got it there. Look at that. Wow.
I got a few of them. Hell yeah.
Do you really?
That's right there.
Wow.
The manual. Yeah.
Isn't that something?
They're more inclusive.
That's what we literally had to
picture. Yep.
That's why I tell a lot of people, I'm old school in many ways. In many ways. Yeah, that's what we learned back in the day before there was YouTube.
What's crazy? Some of the designs that you find in those books, when you go to like the website of the manufacturer, you go to Nissan and you go to the FYI and the helpful hints of what to do stuff for self-repair, they'll show you pictures of the same damn diagrams that those books have. I'm like, so why the hell do I need to go to you? I'm just going to go get that book.
Yeah.
That helped me out big time.
Those books are really good. I tell you, I've used it many times over. It's definitely helped me out.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I've learned going to school. Reading is fundamental. So if you know to read, and just like Derek was saying, when you start thinking, you think on a very intricate level being a mechanic, because you have to look at the way how machinery actually works. Mm-hmm. And it's all part of engineering. So you have to try to study exactly, the pistons and the valve covers and the whole 9 yards going over. My average car lasts me 15 years. Go figure that one out. Because I fixed it all the way to the hills.
But you know what? Let's think that in the same way we think that. Let's reset that whole frame of mind into society today. Most people would just rather go to a mechanic to get it done than them learning it themselves. How things work, how to repair, what are the solutions to repair them, and how to implement the solutions so you can repair it on your own. Some people may not have the patience or wherewithal to even look to it, and they don't have the resources. So they look for someone else to do it. Same concept in politics. People want what they want, don't know how to do it themselves, so they listen or they look for someone else to do the same thing that they could have done themselves. So we have a tendency of doing that. It's the same repetitive nature that we have as human beings, and it's the same thing, same crisis. How many times you run into somebody who's a swindler? Don't really know how to fix. How many times have I've seen where you have this car roll up on you may have a dent in your car, right? And you have these individuals. I'm not going to say what roll up on you. Say, yo, I'll fix that for you for $100, right on the spot. And then do a botchy job, a shitty job. Your car looks like shit after they're done. And they get you all the time because they're predators waiting for an opportunity.
On the flip mode of that mode, because you have a lot of mechanics out here, and one in particular, you're looking at dealerships. Because you go to a dealership, if you go to a dealership, you just feel like being ripped off that special day. You know what they're going to do? They're going to rip you off.
Yep.
And I've seen that many times over. As myself, being trained in that field, I've taken my car to some of the dealerships, and they try to rip me off, and they got a piece of my mind, no doubt about it. And my car was out of there before you know it. I bought the part and installed it myself. Take apart cars.
Both of you guys have hit some very, very valid points. Both of you guys hit some very valid points on what you're both saying, as far as the dealer, and then also, saving money. You know how much money I save on me and my wife's cars, repairing our vehicles? How much money I save annually that I'm able to maintain it at a level that the car is not falling apart. It's like something goes wrong with my car, I can fix it and save. Right. Because one thing people make a mistake with cars is, and I tell people all the time, and this has always been my philosophy on how I maintain my cars. One of the things I notice with most people, they wait till their cars have 5 or 6 problems, and then they try to fix the worst one.
Yeah.
But I try to recommend to my customers is to get your car to as close to 100% as possible and fix the problem as they occur. Now, I understand your finances may not be, in the position to do it, but once you start allowing these things to pile up, that's really when your car becomes a piece of junk. And that's why most people think they got hoopties. And that's why I became a mechanic, because what I do with my customers is I explain these things to them, because most of the time the mechanics aren't even telling them these things that they need to do. They're just fixing their cars and that's it. And I tell them, hey, you need to do this and do that. Because what I'm finding is a lot of people don't have a clue. They want to maintain their cars, but they don't know. They don't even know they don't even know they have a problem or what to do about the problem. And then usually, like you said, when they go to people, these dealerships and stuff, they're ripping the people off, and they're still not getting their problems solved. Yep. So that's one of the main reasons why I went to school too, because I felt like. Say it again.
$100 an hour is the average, hourly rate. More likely it's higher than that by now at a dealership to get your car just looked at. Right. That's unreal.
Well, I'm not going to dispute that part. To be honest with you, that's my rate. My rate is $100 an hour, but my rate basically varies according to your circumstances too.
Correct.
But, that's actually considered a low rate. So I don't charge people specifically $100. I just tell them, I start at 100 and then we'll go down. So that way I work within the people's budget, because some people can afford to pay and some people can't. But I'm not going to underprice myself if I don't have to, because that's one of the mistakes. See, I've been an entrepreneur for 28 years. I've been my own boss for 28 years. And
I think you just went out there. Your volume went out there. When you disconnect? Yeah.
He's in this truck.
Yeah, he probably dropped the stream. Yeah, but he's absolutely right. The difference is, because he mentioned that he starts at $100 an hour, then goes down. The dealership starts at $100 and then go up. Yeah. Big difference. They're it's not a matter of going up, a matter of how far they will actually go. That's the dealerships for you.
Yeah, and I also want to hopefully he'll get back on. One of the things that I want to emphasize is folks may not know the average rate of mechanics, because people assume, why are you charging me so much, and not understanding that that's an actual business rate, an annual rate. And they're not fully aware. The average person may not be fully aware of the degree of effort that's necessary, the tools that you need, and why that's all involved in the price range. And what I like is I've seen how Derek works sometimes in the community, and it's because he's in the truck. And being able to do so, it's advantageous for him to not take his time to get it done quickly. You know, so he'll only do what you would see in a shop who owns a shop. They'll do it for 3 hours. He'll knock it out in an hour. So him charging $100 an hour is an advantage for you
Yeah.
versus $300 an hour plus whatever they charge you extra at the shop. So it's advantages working with a community-based
Correct.
person, auto mechanic.
And there's also trust because you have to have trust.
Yep.
I'm also of the thinking is, you know, you get what you pay for. You know, that's the bottom line. You
I
know,
would say that.
that's you know, you get what you pay for, and if you want something done cheap, then most likely you're not going to get a good job. I study what I do. You know, I don't just try to make money off my customers. I study what I'm doing. I'm constantly learning and teaching myself things, so that way when people do come to me, I'm giving them the job that they're paying for. There's no coming back and forth. I don't believe in that. I believe that as a technician, my job is to know how to diagnose your problem and then solve it, and that's
Right.
it. And those are the people that I follow on YouTube, and that's the way I was trained as a technician. You're not throwing parts at cars and then charging people money and still not fixing their problems. And I think that's one of the big things that a lot of these Jack Lake or Shade Tree mechanics will do. They'll have fix your problem and then kind of have you coming back and spending more money. Whereas me, my goal is to tell you right up front what your problem is and what I'm going to do to fix it, and then that's going to be the end of it. And if there's potential for more problems, I explain that to them up front. I say, with this problem, I can fix this problem, but most likely you probably have another problem, but this is going to stop that problem so we can deal with the next problem. Mm-hmm. So I always try to explain the things to the people. I think it's very important that I explain. I'm very, some of my customers look at me, they're like, Derek, listen, I don't want to know all that stuff. Just fix my car. But I'm like, I just have to explain things because I think it's important. I think it's important that you know this stuff because I say if something happened to me and you go to somebody else, at least you know what they're talking about. Because if you don't know what they're talking about, that's why you're getting ripped off.
Yeah.
Here's a little something for you, Derek, because one thing I know about, because like I mentioned to you, there's a difference between a mechanic and a technician. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us the difference between a mechanic and a technician, Derek? Can you hear me?
Well, I'm going to give you my I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to give you my analogy of what a difference is. I'm not saying my analogy is the correct one, but this is just my personal.
You understand? Right. Okay. Mm-hmm.
I feel like, a mechanic is someone that was taught by someone, or they just learned on their own, or they grew up around somebody in their family and they learned how to work on cars. A technician is someone who actually was trained by a school and they're certified and they use the proper methods to diagnose the problems for your car, because there's procedures for diagnostics. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that mechanics, they don't always follow the diagnostic techniques. So I'm not saying that they're bad, that they're worse, because some of them are very good. A lot of them are. But I do believe that being a book guy, that's like, it's almost like the cell phone, the iPhone and the what you call it, the Android. You want an iPhone or you want an Android? It's all about. So I guess the technician is the Apple phone. We're the Apple phones, Mo. Sorry, Mo.
Okay, that's fine.
Good shot.
Because I know you like that Android. I know you're an Android guy because I heard you talking about me when I came on.
I always say the difference between an Android and an Apple, if you like the applications and some of the things to play around in, Apple's perfect. If you want a phone because you want to make a phone call or you want to communicate, Android there's no better.
You know the thing about it, Derek, because I'm going to push back on that, because for many years I sold a cell phone for about a decade. So right now I'm an Android guy. I keep things very simple in life. You know what I'm saying? No complex.
I think we're gonna need a whole nother hour for this conversation. We're gonna need a whole nother hour for this. I'm gonna invite some people on to get this. I'm gonna bring some people. I'm gonna need some more people to come on for this conversation.
fine.
You
That's
know,
fine.
but one thing we could definitely agree on being a technician, because you hit the nail right on the head. You know what I'm saying? You know, mechanic is taught in the backyard. A technician is learned, taught in school. Then you become ASE certified also as being, automotive service engineer. You know, that's the shield right there of, of authority once you have that bad boy. And that's what it's about. You know, I
Yep.
saved a substantial
Exactly.
amount of money.
You're right.
I saved a substantial amount of money, because the strange thing about it, because I know growing up, I've had this, capability of being mechanically inclined. I've taken apart a lot of things, and one day this friend of mine pulled up to my house. I'm like, where are you going? He's like, I'm going to Penco Tech. What's Penco Tech? He said, why don't you go there with me? So he picked me up at my crib. I had no idea what the hell was going on. I got to the school and he says, we'd like for you to take a test. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about now? I don't even know you. How much is it going to cost me? You know what I'm saying? So she said, just go ahead and take the test. So my friend is in another room. I'm in another room. I come back out. She said, you passed the test. I never even studied for the damn thing. You know what I'm saying? But I knew that I was mechanically inclined all my life, because ever since I was a kid, I was taking things apart, figuring the mechanics of it and how things work.
Hey, Adrian, you want to hear something funny?
What?
My story is similar to yours.
Get
How
out.
I got into school. That's almost, yeah, my story is almost similar. They were like, how you go online and you apply for stuff just to find out about it?
Yeah.
So one day I was just online, like years ago, I was just applying, just checking it out. And they just kept calling me. They would call me all the time. Like, you going to school? I was like, nah, I just was checking it out. I was like, call me in a year. They would literally call me back a year later. I'd be like, no, I'm not interested yet. Call me in another year. They would keep calling me. So then one day they said, well, come up here and just take a look at the school. I said, all right, I'll come up there and take a look. Man, I went in there. Before you know it, I was enrolled and everything. Like you said, the same thing happened to me. And I didn't know what was going on. Like you, I was like, the guy was like, well, you're going to. Before you know it, I was like, are you serious? It's like, you start tomorrow, like next week. Like, I'm like, what? It's like, yeah. It's like, why you keep putting it off? Don't put it off no more. And, I was in school, started just like that. The same way. Like, I went up there to take a look at it. I was taking a test. Next thing you know, I was taking a test, and I was in the school.
Yeah.
The same day. Like, what the hell? It was crazy.
Yeah, it was like
that's the same thing happened.
It's like you was transformed from one area to another area, but you didn't know what the hell happened. Like a quantum leap or something.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what they did to me. They took me over in the back room, and next thing I was sitting at a computer taking a test, and they said, "Okay, you're in, and blah blah blah. You start next week." I'm like, "What?"
You had computers? We don't have computers. You see, you were spoiled. We didn't have computers. I had to get a pen, a pencil, and paper from over there on the other side.
Yeah.
Went down. And they came back to me with a sheet of paper and says you passed, You see, you was lucky. We didn't have that kind of,
well,
back in the day, it was a
that's
different.
because you're older than me. You're old here.
I always tell no that, but they think I'm younger, you know what I'm saying?
It's what, a 6 months difference between classes.
The strange thing about it, because it's like the difference between back in the day we worked on carburetors, taking apart the carburetors and put them back together in the whole 9 yards.
I didn't have any.
Exactly. Now we don't have those things. We do it with fuel injection. Totally different.
Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. Mo was working on dinosaurs back then. He was working on dinosaurs.
I was the Flintstones. The Flintstones action. I was trying to get back Oh man, that's hilarious. But you know what? I applaud
to you guys, man.
That's
It's
good,
a pleasure, man. Always, my man. This platform is yours too. Anytime you're willing to come back, we love to have you, man.
We love to chop it up, man. We talk about everything.
Thanks for having me.
We want to make sure that you get your time here, man. Please plug your businesses.
Yeah, definitely.
Businesses that you got. Let everybody know.
Well, my main business right now is community auto repair. You can go to my Facebook page, Community Auto Repair. I'm probably gonna have some type of raffle for Father's Day.
Okay.
My income tax business is soon to be income tax and credit repair business. It's going to be called Quickie Tax and Credit Solutions. I've been a tax preparer for 28 years, and I decided to expand into credit repair because I'm starting to see so many people having issues with their credit
You
as
need to
well.
talk to me about that. I'll guide you in the right direction there, Derek. So let me know about that too, okay?
Yeah. Good timing.
Okay, absolutely. I'll just be talking about that.
Yeah.
And I just go do my transportation.
Okay.
Just do my transportation service, and then that's it. You know, and I'm here locally to support everybody that's doing positive things in Atlantic City. So,
absolutely.
You know, I could be
if you have a contact information that you can share with us, you can verbalize it and we can see what we can do to put it on the page later on, just in case people are interested in contracting you, man. You got a way that they can contact you?
I have
2748, and you can reach me at DerekKBrock@gmail.com and follow me on Facebook at Derek Brock. And I love everybody. But I appreciate you guys having me on. My wife is calling me. She wants to know where I'm at, and I got to take this call. This is one call I have to take.
Yeah, you got to make sure.
Make that happen. I'll be in touch with you. I'll be in touch with you, man.
I need you guys to get a note. I'm going to need a note from you guys. So let me talk.
I got you. We're from Black Maryland, so I got you. I know.
Write me a note. Write me a note. Say I was with you guys.
It's been on YouTube.
We got you. We got you. But we appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, definitely. We got your back, man. We got you.
Yeah. You're welcome to come back at any time, man. We chop it up all the way. He's bouncing out now.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm excited, man, for his that way of looking, man. You know, entrepreneurship and people. Age is not a barrier for folks.
No, the guy is following my freaking footstep every step of the way. If you haven't noticed that, you know, this you know,
you're following his footsteps, Derek. You heard that?
Yeah, Derek, you're following my footsteps, and you don't even know that.
Those are some big shoes. Those are some very big shoes to fill. So
it's nice 13, man. I'm telling you, it doesn't feel cheap.
You know, I'm honored to be able to walk in those footsteps. Believe me when I tell you. So
he's the man.
You keep stepping. I'm gonna step with you, baby. Keep stepping.
You can learn. I can teach you a hell of a lot. Trust me.
Oh man, there you go.
Yeah,
that's how we're supposed to do it, right? That's beautiful. That's good.
That's what networking is really all about at the end of the day, guys. If we're not working together, networking, that's where we lose. That's where we do ourselves a disservice. I'm happy that we're having this discussion in such a friendly and brotherly manner. I think it's important that we continue this. You guys created a great platform for open discussion, which is good. I'm happy, Mo, that we were able to get a little bit on politics. I didn't want to get into that, but the fact that you opened that door, I appreciate that. You know, because I don't really want to be political all the time, even though people kind of view me that way. I'm not all political. I can go take the hat off and put it back on, you know, because there's nothing personal for me. There's no gripes. It's just I'm holding people accountable, and I really, like you said earlier, we don't speak up, and it's our time now. Facebook gave us a platform to be able to be more vocal, and we got to use it for the right purposes, and not for this stupid stuff that these people are here doing. Man. But you know, so these are great platforms.
Yeah, thank you very much. And like Adrian said, man, this platform is now yours, man. You're part of the family, so you can come on and talk shit whenever you want to, man. Any topic that we talk about, you're welcome to talk about. If you're talking about your gripes about things that happen in the neighborhood, we welcome it, because ultimately this is what it is. We're a conduit of information. We try to be a conduit. We give everybody a voice. The whole thing is about coming by and connecting. So whatever we can do to resolve the issue, we'll do it. If we're just carrying the message so somebody else can hear it, then we'll do it. Because that's what we're here for. That's what makes the new norm. We can only get by if we come together.
Well, this is the new norm. I like the new norm. Yeah. You know, I love it. This is what new norm should be about. Brotherhood.
Building.
That's right.
Building. So you guys keep doing your thing. You got my support. And when I get a few extra dollars, maybe I'll sponsor something for you guys, and you know, put a little sponsorship on you guys.
I can do a lot for you. Trust and believe. I can do a lot for you. You know, because like I said, as I mentioned to you, it's not only automotive. You know, whether it's credit repair, foreclosures, I know a lot about a lot. You know, websites, the whole 9 yards. So when you touch base,
we'll touch bases definitely on that. I look forward to having more discussion with you on that.
Yep.
Okay, certainly.
Okay.
You know, I can definitely point you in the right direction. You take care. Have a blessed weekend. I'll talk to you.
Okay, bye-bye.
We'll talk more.
All right.
All right.
Right now.
Bye.
That was Derek Brock. We greatly appreciate his time and the wisdom that he shared with us and his experience. It's extremely important that all the viewers know that we're very supportive of community-based people who are motivated to start their own businesses, and entrepreneurship is extremely something that we've always been supportive of. Adrian has been a hub of entrepreneurs, and we was able to reach Derek in his busy day, in his busy time, to come down and speak with us. So we greatly appreciate that. So,
Yeah, I also had a discussion with my main man Martin.
Yeah,
Yeah, he shared some really good news to me yesterday.
Okay.
And he said he would be on the 11th of June. So he's coming on the 11th of June. He's going to bring Tia with him also.
Okay, cool.
So we have both of them on the show, and he has some really good news how things are going with his invention and the whole 9 yards. So I'll let him, get into that. I'm not gonna, let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah. Right. So
So
those who may not know, these are prior entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
Or leaders in the past that came on the show. One is an entrepreneur out of Atlanta that created something in the hair industry that is innovative and
Mississippi.
Mississippi is where they live at. Yeah, right. In Mississippi, that's true. That's right. Forgive me, Martin. But in Mississippi, they created something as an entrepreneur that it's a new type of way of doing things. But when he comes on, he's able to talk about the success. But we told him whatever we can do to support his success, we will, and so we'll continue doing.
Really good guy.
Yep.
Very energetic. Another entrepreneur. And that's what it's about.
Yep. Entrepreneurship. It's very important. We can't always work for the man per se, or big business if big businesses are closing down. So if we can make opportunities happen for ourselves, that's what we should do.
Well, like it says, we have the tools. It's just a matter of just the building blocks. We got to build it.
Mm-hmm.
You have the tools, use it to build something really good. And that's what it's about.
Absolutely.
It's never about self. It's all about people. That's what it's about.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So just as a quid pro quo, I know Brother Derek is probably watching still later on down the line, but he's very supportive of a brother who's named by Jimmy Whitehead. Jimmy Whitehead ran for election a few times, and he mentioned something that he wanted to do, and he inspired to do so, and finally got it accomplished, which is great, man. He started the Envision Center. It's a call center that he worked with Dr. Ben Carson with federal money and federal funds to be able to bring it to Atlantic City. So I would say, Jimmy, congratulations for what you're doing and what you did. Forget the naysayers, you did it. So it's congratulations to you, and I applaud you for it. Jimmy's now running for mayor, and he reached out to me recently because he wanted to support me if I was interested in running for council again. And I told him, I said, if I run, I won't be running for city council. And I told him deliberately that I'll be seeking the position of mayor. So we have a certain level of respect for one another, and I applaud him for what he's done, and his crew of people that he's with him. Each one of them, there's some cool guys, man. There's some cool guys.
There's a lot of cool guys in the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of brothers with good ideas.
Yeah, very adamant. You know what I mean? I love the passion that people have. Sometimes I may have a difference of opinion about stuff, but I respect it. And I respect commitment. If you stay committed to what your message is, then it's value. It brings value to it. I reached out to Brother Steve Young. He was going to talk a little bit about what has transpired in the past 2 weeks.
Okay.
And I didn't. He wasn't able to come on. But I know one of the things he wanted to do was tomorrow talk about. I'm going to see if I can pop it up real quick on one of the windows. Is to it's taking a second because of this side, but he was involved. It's a rally tomorrow, a rally here in Atlantic City to mark the Tulsa Race Massacre Centennial and support the children. So it's supposed to take place tomorrow. Man, every time you go to Press of Atlantic City, if you're not answering this survey, man, they try to block everything. Anyway, he tried to inform me that tomorrow, and if I think it's 2 p.m., it'll be a rally to support, to mark the Tulsa Race Massacre Centennial and to support the children. So if anyone's interested, reach out to Brother Steve Young and participate in them. I think it's tomorrow, 2 p.m. And if I'm not mistaken, is at either City Hall or the Safety Building. Anyone who may know, please let me know on the chat, so I don't necessarily give the wrong information, but I know it's taking place because it's on the press and everything. Matter of fact, I'm going to share the headline so people can see at least the headline. And then is this the Press of Atlantic City? So it's Rally Saturday.
Okay, there it is.
Race Massacre Centennial and support the children. So that's what's going to take place tomorrow. But we wanted to talk a little bit about the incidences that are taking place. Also, the disposition that's still developing at the school board with the investigation. We were all part of a meeting that took place last Tuesday. And the meeting was very, it was a sensitive meeting. You know, everyone's really on edge about the situation, but we were imploring the city, the Board of Education, to continue on with this investigation. And each one of us spoke. A lot of people went and spoke in support about the investigation to take place because we were very moved and enamored at how we need to find justice for these victims. And they were, I guess the decision was made. So $50,000 in addition to what was already available for the investigation was allotted to the investigation so it could continue. So we're grateful that decision took place. And we'll see how that, moving forward, what kind of support that gives the community and how close to justice will be. So I know that Steve wanted to talk about that. I was hoping again to get Latoya to come on to talk about Unity Day. I think she's getting pulled all over the place about different things, but there's a dilemma developing right now that I'm trying to get the details. But apparently the FBI may have made some arrests at a building having to do with housing here in Atlantic City, and I'm not certain to what level it is, true or not. And I don't want to say what department, what building dealing with housing here, but we'll see how it develops. So there's a lot of speculation how things are moving and who's moving and what this is involving with. But as the time goes on, I guess we'll find clarity. You know, we'll find out what it is.
Yeah.
But the one thing I had mentioned earlier on that we wanted to make sure is that we have to be more adamant in ensuring that our safe zones that are supposed to be safe for kids continue to be safe, because they just arrested this one guy who is apparently one of the leaders or the administrators with a recovery company that works with recovery, with substance abuse recovery, who apparently they allege that he made communications with a 14-year-old boy or someone that he assumed was a 14-year-old boy, and arranged a meetup at Browns Park here in Atlantic City. And what it was a trap to find this individual, to get him. And when the police went to the site, they saw him and he ran into the bushes trying to hide from the cops. So they found him, got him in the whole nine. So it's on AC Primetime. I mean, actually, it's on Breaking AC, which would probably be in the Press of Atlantic City also, giving more of the information. I think the guy's name is Catalano, but it's the question of his position and his access, because apparently he has had access to our parks through initiatives that were supported by elected officials in the city in different parks, including that park. So they may have come in as an in-kind service, being part of an initiative to inform the community, and subsequently not knowing that this person who is potentially a predator was there hunting or looking to see what may be something that he's looking for. So I don't know. But that person was arrested. Someone else was arrested with child predator. It was a few people that were recently arrested. And they're all identified in the Press of Atlantic City. So anybody want to look into it more, Press of Atlantic City or AC Primetime sometimes has information. But Breaking AC, Linda Cohen does a great job of sharing information that's made public, more details about things that are validly impacting the community. And she doesn't post or present anything that's speculative. Everything that she has is usually fact-based or supported based on the reports, and she gives you.
I've reported for Atlantic City Press at one time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
when she left them and then started up Breaking AC.
Yep. She a quid pro quo. She and I were on the choir together back in high school, so I remember working back then. Yep. So I applaud her how she's trying to bring information along, because when I was at the board of education meeting and I was speaking at the time, she had hit me to let me know about something that she was just releasing, and it was disheartening, and it really hit me the minute she released it to me. It was like a shot. It was saying that the information that was made available found that the school administrator that should have been more responsible, had known this information, known about the predator doing what it was doing, and instead of contacting the proper authorities, they held back 2 weeks. Was it 2 months? I think it's held back a long period of time, a lot longer. So it looks like they were intentionally trying to avoid it going further than it did. I'm gonna try to get to it, but it's shared. 2 months. 2 months. The report says Small waited 2 months to report cousin sleepover with students. Records show. So they've uncovered. Investigations have uncovered about this. Waited more than 2 months to report the guy sleeping with his sleepovers in violation of school policies. So that hit me, man, when she sent me this information, because it was being released at that moment. So she was watching the AC Board of Education, and things are going. A lot of people watching, but I was trying to implore the board make these tough decisions and be honest with yourselves. And in some situations where you're supposed to make tough decisions, if you got people leaning on you and it's very difficult for you to make a moral judgment, a proper moral decision, then it's time for you to step down. And you should choose to step down to give someone else ability to make that decision, because sometimes the evil ways of people are definitely seen. They're envisioned, because, and in this situation, there is no impunity or immunity, because it's a sexually based issue. So the school system, the district itself, if found guilty in this allegation, the school district doesn't pay the fine. The people that were involved would pay the fine. The people that were identified in the lawsuit would have to pay the fine. And the lawsuit identified the principal at that time, identified the teacher, the person who apparently was the main person doing things wrong, the school board, and the mayor, who is now mayor, and also the superintendent of schools. So everyone would have to be made accountable for it and would have to pay the fine. Whatever comes out, the penalty comes out, they would have to pay the fine. In addition to what was told to us on that day, is if there's anything criminally involved that may have been investigated and found to be, that it would immediately been turned over to the FBI, and then no one would know that things would be found. FBI would be then execute any activity moving forward to arrest accordingly and prosecute accordingly. So I was like, wow. But
it's going to get pretty deep before you get into shallow waters. That's for sure.
Hell yeah. And it's gonna, this situation and the way politics are right now, it's gonna really expose the caliber of people that we have here in the city. And I would say
a lot of that stuff is going to come out. It's like opening up, opening the whole thing up. Election time.
Hell yeah.
Election time. Everybody, placements. Everything's going to come out. Everything is going to come out.
And it's a shame, because this joker wants to say that everything's election, everything's political. Well, homie, if you intertwine everything around politics yourself, You use your political platform to enable situations to benefit certain people, to protect certain people. Then you made it political. So ultimately, your cry is on deaf ears. It don't mean shit because ultimately, you're in the wrong all the way around. So justice is going to come, and wherever it comes and wherever it lies, let it fall where it may. Point blank. Point blank.
So you mentioned something earlier. How many people are running for mayor? 3.
There's a lot. At this point in time, the primaries, you'll have, you have the Republican candidate, which is Tom
Foley.
No, Foley is running as a independent Democrat. He's running as a Democrat, running for the Democratic nomination. He's the one running against Marty and his team. So it'll be Foley against Marty. And then I think there's one more individual who's running as an independent Democrat, running as a Democrat nomination. And then there's Republicans running for that platform. And I think that Tom Forkin is the one running as a Republican, and he may be running uncontested. And then in November, that's the general elections where independents like myself will run. Because one of the things I had mentioned before, I re-registered myself as an independent voter. One as a tool because I knew the Democratic Party from the county side down were shitting on us and were making it very difficult for voices of the people. And so I felt it more of an advantage for me just to be independent. And then on a national standpoint, because none of these primary parties, these major parties, are doing anything for our people. They're doing nothing.
Yeah, a lot of people are discovering that. A lot of people are discovering this. Yeah.
So this is not to go at like President Biden. Uncle Joe is still Uncle Joe. He's the man. He's the president, and he's still doing a lot of good. And his cabinet, they're still doing a lot of good, and I applaud him. That's one of the reasons why I voted for him, hoping that he'll do good. But ultimately, I'm not in line with the party just because it's a party. Nah, I don't play that nonsense. One of my platforms, or the primary concept of my platform, is people over party. Because too often that's what people always say. Well, you're a fellow Democrat. You should do this. Hell no. Hell no. If it doesn't make sense for my people, meaning all the people of Atlantic City, regardless of what you look like, what religion you come from, or what you pray, or who you love and how you love, regardless of all that stuff, if it doesn't benefit us, then why should I support it?
The thing about it that's so weird because when I was online a few days ago on WBLS Open Line, they mentioned the same thing also, because a lot of those people are actually, echoing exactly what you're saying, because the Democrats are not doing as much as they should. The thing about it is they're bowing down to a lot of the pressure from the Republicans, and they're like, the Republican Party is like totally in total disarray right about now. It's like unreal. It's a year, they still have a hard time trying to pass this George Floyd bill. Then they're watering it down, everything, taking bits and pieces out of it. So by the time it gets around, another one is the commission for the January 6th, insurrection. They don't have enough votes to actually pass that, so the Democrats got to go back to phase 1 and try to create a separate, investigative committee in order to do that. And the reason why a lot of people, I mentioned this also, people at one time, many down south in the Bible Belt, and many people were Republicans who were black. And then during the Great Switch, they went from Republicans to becoming a Democrat, because the Democratic Party said that they were going to do more for minorities and black people. And that was the intention. But as time passed by, it seems like things are falling apart when it comes to that. And like I've also mentioned about the governorship, the power is not with the governorship. A lot of people run city council, school board, all of this kind of stuff. That's low on the totem pole. A lot of the Democrats, the Democratic Party, as a matter of fact, do not support minorities and black people actually be sitting in the governor's seat. Right. And that's the problem. You don't see that. Last time a black person was Virginia. That was some time ago. Was the governor of Virginia. He was a black guy, but he's highly light-skinned, the whole 9 yards. But that was about it.
Right.
So it's like I said, everybody's fighting and all that stuff, but nobody goes after the governorship. And that's where the power really lies, because the governor controls the state. Not even the president could tell the governor exactly what's going on, what to do, because Cuomo and Trump went at it with that some time ago.
You know what? One of the things that I worry or I'm concerned about that sometimes it leaves me thinking, I think our people of color have been beat into submission so much to believe that people of color can't lead. We're not good enough to be the governor. We're not good enough to be, and you've seen it, how some black folks like, I'm not voting for him because he's black, and didn't vote for Barack. And some people still want to sit up there and blow the horn for Trump. They're beat into submission to believe that someone of color is not good enough, worthy enough, intelligent enough, resourceful enough to be a leader. And even in the disposition that I'm in right now, Atlantic City has been traditionally a white and black town because that's where the emphasis was. The majority of the individuals working the hotels were people of color, and they've had to work really, really hard to get what little they were. But they had to work in an industry or side of the city was primarily white. So it's always been white versus black. So if it wasn't the challenges of trying to find the right person to be the mayor who's a white person, it's the challenges to try to bring down the black person who should be the mayor, and the people in between has been very few. I may be the one and only Latino ever to run for mayor. I need to look into that.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to look into that. And just like Dr. Palm, I think it's Palm. And forgive me, doctor, if you're watching this and everything. This is no disrespect to you. Just not accustomed to your name yet, but I will. He's running as an independent also from the Bangladeshi or Pakistani Bangladeshi community.
Okay.
The Middle Eastern community, maybe the first one. Matter of fact, I'm pretty certain. I'm almost guaranteed. I put money on it. He's the first one ever to run for mayor also. So I applaud him for his endeavor also.
Definitely trailblazer.
Yeah, exactly. So like we had before when you had Rizwan Malik being the first elected Pakistani, we were supportive of that got into the situation. And then all the others. Then we had Jimmy Chang was the first Asian or Chinese American that was got and elected in the position. Very supportive of that thing. So diversity is something to me that's necessary. It's needed, and it should be respected. However, we still got a long way to go to have equity because certain communities have a little bit more than others, whether it's from their own hard work or if it's just privilege that entitled them to gain that. We don't know. But, me being in the situation I think I'm uniquely at an advantage because where I was raised, how I was raised, and what I support. So.
Well, not only that, you're in that position. You've held that position for a number of years.
Mm-hmm.
Being in city council.
Yeah.
So basically, what you're doing, you're just upgrading.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. You're upgrading.
Yeah. And one of the things that I've heard this dude who's the mayor right now, when it came out of his mouth before I even made any kind of gesture of me running for anything, he wanted to try to disavow my existence, saying that I didn't do anything in city council. He's like, check the record. I'm like, for anyone who's paying attention, if you watch any meeting, I've been very loud and boisterous about all the things that need to happen. So I'll speak up continuously at the meetings. I've gone to different committee meetings to talk about different things and spurred out initiatives here and there that, oddly enough, when they got to the dais, my name has not been placed on these documents. And I've made mention to that, like, if we're the ones sponsoring these things, our names need to be put on there. Then advertently, I've seen my name placed on documents that had nothing to do with anything that I was supportive of, and it was a game being played. And it's happened too often where the city council president has done it. The mayor, back as the city council president, did it, continues to do it today. So there may not be much record on my name on sponsoring stuff, but if you watch the meetings, I've been spearheading many things. They're on there speaking and asking about specific questions, being the filter of morality, what's right and what's wrong, even bring certain questions that need to be asked that people were scared of. And in addition to that, all the work that I've done in the community, Because not only am I there in office, I told everybody, whether if it's a food bank or it's an initiative, a holiday initiative, feeding people, getting book bags for people, creating the first ever Unity Day event that took place more than one time that we're coming back to under the leadership of LaToya Dunstan that I'm supporting always. That's my girl. I love her to death as a leader. And then the community itself. So there's so many initiatives working in and out of the school systems, being a shadow, coming in to teach the kids about being a leader, teaching, speaking to the children there, going to the community, the civic association meetings to give clear, definitive details about different actions that are made, answering phone calls late at night when somebody has a fire going on the site, finding out some resources to help individuals there. So this individual is brave enough to say, I didn't do shit at the dais. My question is, for the many years that you've been in both dioceses, the hell you got under your name to say you have accomplished by yourself? So we can always put that challenge because he ain't done shit. Shit. So I still say the same thing. He wants to hold up some sort of statue of one of the young men that died here in the city of Atlantic City, who was a boxer, who did a great he worked through challenges he worked through to become a champion. Cool. That's great. You put a statue in the middle of the city. Unfortunately, it's been doing nothing but collecting a bunch of poop from birds, and it's been a walk by from different people because you never did anything to support it continuously. Never did anything to support something, the initiative or whatever it is. His dad is still a trainer at PAL, and there hasn't been an emphasis to try to increase the boxing program there to make it more solid, to give them more resources here. It's never been. What do you see? The playground in Back Maryland. Okay. In his position as a second ward, he spoke with the casinos. At that point in time, the talk about developing the casino to try to buy into the community. And so what was it? He was able to secure $2 million to build this project. Cool. He got it started. We were there supportive in the whole nine. Did get it started. To renew a playground that was there. When did he finish it? What is that? 24 years later? 24 years. I think it's 24 years that he finished it by recently adding on to something that it should have finished in the first time around for the money. But that money was played with and it was gone. It was lost. It was talked. All this hardship that the city is, but he played on a piece of a nice chunk of funds that could have been utilized to finish that playground earlier, sooner, so kids could have enjoyed it. But no, he waited until the time of politics. So, and this is not to go back and forth. I don't want to use this arena for this. I'll do this separately, but I wanted to make sure I say these words because it's necessary. People need to know the truth and stop dancing to the bullshit that's being said as if that's their gospel. That's some bullshit is what it is. Ask the truth. What have you done? What have you done? Not what you've taken pictures of, not what have your crew done, not what the people around you have done. What have you done? What have you paid for out of your pocket? What haven't you asked someone else to pay on your behalf? What have you done? Where have you sweated for? As we were out there in the community, sweeping and cleaning communities that I live in, but it made sense to help clean the communities. Playgrounds, all the playgrounds in the city. We did that for a few years right before the summer season came about. Painting, repainting certain playgrounds to make sure that they look new and they were safer. We did that. This was, and I say this we because it's not just about me. I'm part of the community. So if I have the leadership abilities to come out there and not only put my name on it, but put my blood, sweat, and tears into it because I'm part of the team, then it just shows you that that's what I'm about. My platform is always people before party. But I tell everybody, Atlantic City, it's your time now. Everybody before talking all that shit, vote for me. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Yeah, it's always about you. It's always me, I. That's what it seemed to have been. The end result. People show you who they are. If all you're saying is I, me, then you're self-centered. You're never really concerned about the people out here, the struggles that are taking place. Senior citizens have to go through all kinds of stuff on their own, and you've never showed up, never really cared about them. But yet somebody else does it, and you want to tap your name to it. Okay, cool. You have all kinds of seniors struggling throughout the community, and you never taking care of them. You have people who are part of your team helping to quiet seniors who have been struggling recently. You want to play games where they couldn't get food because you told your people over there, yo, don't let them in there. We were getting homeless. We had a whole kind of truckloads, and this was my council colleague, Latoya, was adamant. She was out there trying to make sure that the seniors had a voice over at Lang City Apartments or townhouses, making sure the people had a voice out there, making sure they had food, the whole nine. They had the audacity to stop for the food from coming, right?
Yeah.
Had the audacity to do, had the audacity to stop it. They had to deliver it on the sidewalk and the whole nine, and people came out. The audacity off of the threat of food. But this was all around election time. Same situation.
It's like unnecessary roughness.
It's a trip. Teams of people stealing ballots in the second ward. Stealing ballots. I just heard these past 2 days, 3 individuals tell me stories that they've had to go to the prosecutor's office in Mays Landing to validate their names, to look at it, because when they went to vote, they were told you voted already. When they had to go and validate, they found out the ballot. Then they recognized some of this guy's team members hovering around the mailboxes. Some of his team members walking door to door, waiting for these ballots to come in. And then talking to them, let me get those ballots. I'll take care of it for you on your behalf. They're stealing their votes.
Yeah, that's voter fraud, no doubt.
Exactly.
Yeah, voter fraud.
Yeah.
The finest.
But because he got some people in position in the county side, I don't think we'll ever see any kind of things. And he got allies at the state side that's trying to cover and corral things to protect old boy, because old boy is basically just bending over for whatever the state wants. Whatever you want, we'll give it to you, master. I'll give you whatever it is, because as long as you take care of me and I'm getting paid, forget everybody. That's foul, man. That's foul.
Well, sooner or later, the chicken's gonna come home to roost, man.
Oh, of course, man. I would say people deserve what they get. And if you think you deserve more, then you should ask for more. You deserve more. Get it out there. I'm trying to give you more. I'm trying to, there's people, and I say I applaud everyone who's attempting to make positive change. And if you see any one of us out there running that you think is the better candidate, then you choose it and make sure you support that person. And you don't hear that shit from everybody else, man. You don't hear that. Everybody else just vote for me, vote for me, vote for me, vote for me, vote for me. Don't vote for everybody else.
And like that old saying goes, what have you done for me lately?
Right.
Well,
I've never been that type of person other than I'm asking for your support. If you think I'm the worthy candidate, please support me. I'm hoping that I've made your approval, and I said this in the very, very beginning, 2009, when I first ran into any political position. When I said to them, there's some of you that may not like me at all based on my political partners and the people around. You may not like me just because you think you know me. Well, you may not like me now, but I'm going to gain your respect by the stuff I've done. And throughout the years, all the stuff I've done, one by one, have fallen from a place of dissension and sheer hate and bitterness to support, even from a distance, because I got some people that want to act like they're a certain type of way, but from a distance, they're supportive of the type of stuff that I've done. And even send some message, yo, I like what you did. Thank you for doing it. And I appreciate that. It's all good. It's all good. I hold no malice upon that. I think everyone deserves to have their own point of view and their own decisions. However, you got to be accountable for the decisions you make. If you support this joker who's out there smiling and styling and profiling based on your money and everyone else's tax dollars while you struggling, he got shit to answer to. If you don't answer, and if you don't ask him these questions, then how the hell are we going to know? Then you just aiding and abetting a crime, aiding and abetting a crime.
Mm-hmm.
And you just as bad. So it's the same old thing, man. And that's what I have a problem with. Just the same old thing. Because the problems are evident. And the problems aren't just unique to Atlantic City. It's just I am in the presence on a position to work solely for the benefit of Atlantic City. But as I'm moving forward, if I'm able to do more of what I want to do for Atlantic City, it benefits the county. It benefits around. It helps change the culture of Atlantic City. It helps to change the culture in the people of Atlantic City. It helps to enable them to feel empowered. whether it's by gaining their, like we talked about before, learning to be entrepreneurs, getting more education, hit the reset button.
Yeah, there's a lot of importance that this is a reset of the economy. This is the time that people should be training, or opening up training centers to get people to do other things. We weren't here the very first time this economy started running, but we're here now. We're here now, and we should be able to make a change.
Yep. And change takes action. Somebody can pray all you want to. And prayer without action is nothing but words. You got to put some action to it.
Without words is dead.
Yep. And I'm still a believer, man. I'm still believe in Atlantic City. I still believe in our people, in our communities. I'm a still staunch believer that that little boy or girl in the communities that we have, whose family is struggling day to day, knows what it is about the EBT card too much. Their lives have had to be rearranged because of the hardships of the pandemic. That little boy and girl deserves a better life. Still believe that these men and women out here who just trying to make a living, trying to do what they can, can't find a job, they deserve an opportunity to find a job. I strongly believe that there's so many good people. There's some evil motherfuckers, no doubt. But there's so many good people in the city that's just been given backs. People turning their backs on them or giving their ass to kiss, or told them and been told that they are obligated to do so. No, slavery days are over. I don't think anyone should be obligated other than to stand up for your own, have your own opinion, learn about your own life, and give you opportunities freely because everyone else gets the same opportunities. That's what I believe in. So I'm hopeful, man. I'm hopeful, but I'm tired. I'm tired of the bullshit. I'm tired of the lies.
You spoke those words into the universe, man. It's going to come to fruition. That's what it's about.
Yeah. Well, I'm like I told my wife, and I said I might say a few words because I try not to keep my own political endeavors on the show because organically wasn't made for the betterment of myself. It's been a tool. We've been doing from the get-go to try to inform people, encourage people this way and that way. And the people that believe in me, some of the people are coming on, like Gina. I love her to death always. Being very supportive and pushing, like, yo, when you gonna do it? When you gonna do it? When you gonna do it? And I said maybe this time I'll make mention of something. And Derek, I applaud him for his control, but I know he wanted to engage a little bit about politics, so I gave it to him to be able to speak on what he meant. And I know he's a supporter of Jimmy Whitehead. And I celebrate the commitment, bro. I celebrate the commitment. I appreciate the fact that Jimmy's got some solid people around him who's been around him for a long period of time, and I wish him the best. Inshallah, he'll get whatever is coming to him, whatever is due, and we will do what needs to do as a community. Because I always say it's not a Superman, it's a super plan, and what's in my plan is all of us take a part in developing the city better. All of us take a part into it. No one is better. As long as you're not trying to hurt anybody, there's an opportunity, there's a space for you. If you're trying to hurt somebody, I got no time for you. If you're trying to really be fraudulent and just keep eating off the community, I got no time for you. I got no time, no space. And if you're doing anything illegal, I'm going to try to make sure that you face whatever needs to get faced as far as justice is concerned. That's why I'm not going to cry. With all this stuff that's going on, anything, I'm not going to cry, y'all. I'm not. You're not going to hear me say, well, he was a good guy. I'm not. All these years I've seen all the betrayal, deceit, thievery, lies, debauchery, fraud, stealing, all the illegalities, all the immoralities that I've seen happen, that I've heard happen, that I've made witness to. My own personal struggle being made to, like, really, in a season of politics is so heavy in Atlantic City, jobs don't come easy to a person like me. Don't come easy. I held on to a job for 13 plus years that I enjoyed and I loved because I was working in the community I was raised in. I did a damn good job at it. To this day, I've got kids that I see, grown-ass adults, and always say, yo, you made a mark in my life. That's a blessing. But they took that away from me because of politics, man. This fool called the vice president of the company asking whether I was doing something or I wasn't doing something specifically to a food bank. It's the same damn food bank next to my office that we created fundraisers to help fund. Same food bank that I came and fought to find resources so they can continue going because it was feeding the community. But he calls the vice president, and vice president is in his pocket, vice versa. And so all of a sudden, I got to answer the shit that I've never had to answer to. Never been made to do this and never do that. But all of a sudden, I don't meet the criteria. It was all a political ploy, and he wants to play. I didn't do nothing. Fuck out of here, man. Stop lying. You did what you did, and that was good enough. You shouldn't have. If you had my phone number, you could have called me, asked questions specifically about that, because it's about the community. You didn't do that. You did something else. You did the bitch move, and you called someone else. You called bosses and vice presidents, a bunch of thieves and crooks and shit to do something. And I unintentionally, I ended up being the victim of politics. So this is the shit that I keep saying, man. I'm disgusted.
Huh? I always said it's a dirty game, man. It is what it is. It's a dirty game. I mean, you get into that, get ready for the smear tactics and the whole 9 yards.
Yep.
I say it's a sport and stuff because it gets damn right dirty, and that's just the bottom line.
Yeah. Well, as I said, I'm tired, but I'm not dead. I'm aligning my energy and my focus so I can succeed in doing what I need to do. But at the same point in time, I'm still carrying the same proud burdens I've carried before. We're going to keep pushing the new norm the best way we possibly can to make sure that people become informed, encouraged, and engaged in conversations that are fruitful to our community, giving them a chance. I'm going to keep being the best dad I possibly can to an 18-year-old, soon to graduate, soon to hopefully be in college or trade school, something, hopefully.
Bring up a child the way you should go, and when they get older, will not depart from it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it is.
Yep.
So you bring them up right. They'll remember all the things that you've done.
Oh, yeah.
I have a lot of family members that can vouch for that.
Yeah, I'm very, very proud of him. And my wife done a tremendous job being my partner in raising him. And again, I'm a husband of a wonderful wife who her reputation carries alone. People love her for the person that she is and the legacy that she and I both hold on to with Virgie Jordan and the legacy that she has. I'm proud to say that we put no blemish to that. We bring no blemish. Nobody can ever say I've done anything illegal, immoral, unjust. And I'm proud because it shows that the legacy still lives in us. And I'm proud to say that. I'm continuing to do that. My mom is still with us, and I'm a proud son to try to take care of her. She's never been ashamed of anything I did. She's always tried to say, I wish that you can step out of it because it's so dirty. It changes you and so on and so forth. It makes you a certain type of way. And it's changed me somewhat because I've had to deal with things. I've had to face adversity on my own by myself in so many instances. But I was built a certain type of way. My DNA made me to have wide shoulders. I'm bigger than I should be because of pandemic and my back and what have you. But I'm not dead. I'm going to align myself to be better, stronger, and wiser. Because moving forward, God chooses and we push forward. And then I'm selected as the best choice to be mayor. I'm going to make sure I'm on point so the people get what they deserve.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that being said, like that old song, it takes two to make things go right. And that's what happened, Yep. It's what's going on in the background. You have your wife that got your back, who's you're right there. Just go for it. That's it. Bottom line.
Yep.
To make a difference.
Yep. So right now I'm just in the process of getting the petition signatures. So I've got a certain amount of signatures that I need to get to be on the ballot. And once I'm able to successfully do that, then there's no gating that November. My name will be there somewhere. If you're giving it to the Democratic Committee and how the county is, it'll be at the end somewhere far away, but it doesn't matter. I've always stood out. My name, my persona, my reputation, who I am and what I do has always stood out amongst all the crowd. So if you set me out even more, that brings it to a disadvantage to everybody else. So I'm like, yo, you can keep doing what you want to do because regardless of what, my name doesn't bring a party. It just tells me who you are. If you want Mo in life, then Mo is what you get.
You vote for Mo and you get more, huh? You vote for Mo and you get more. That's what it's about. You stand tall.
Yep. That's it. But that's the end of my soapbox, my personal soapbox agenda, man. We got some things there's a lot of things developing right now. Oh, you know what I wanted to touch on too? Did you notice how the crypto
I
The
think I heard
IRS is now hunting people.
about the cryptocurrency and stuff.
Yeah, how the IRS is getting involved and so on and so forth. They're really pushing stuff.
I've always told a lot of people that you cannot mess around with the currency without getting, Uncle Sam pissed off at you one way or another. And this is a good way to get pissed off at your ass is sending the IRS. But IRS is nothing but a legalized government entity debt collector. So they're going to come after you if you have all of those profits in the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, Gina said you were singing a song lyric.
Gina, leave me alone. You're taunting me.
Your niece loves you.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, the IRS is going to get ticked off, and obviously it's going to come after you because the capital gains and not paying the taxes on all those things. Oh yeah. No doubt.
I was trying to get people like how we had brother Amir Holland came on one time, and he was part of stuff, and he's a real advocate of cryptocurrency, and there was so much discussion. We were talking to Joshua before and talking to the brother he brought in. I can't remember his name. I think it's Terry. And a lot of other people that were talking about it because we want people to be informed about it. Then all of a sudden, dun, Big Brother's coming in and says, "Well, you can do all you want." Everybody's talking about making money. Break off my share, and I was like, "Wow, IRS is going heavy, and they're looking. They are looking." So, as the tax experts, as people out there, tax experts, please advise all of your clients if you are working with cryptocurrency to make sure you identify any kind of capital gain, any kind of financial transactions involved appropriatly. Because if not, they're not only trying to charge as a fine, they're making it a federal offense. They're locking them up.
They're taking you to the pokey.
Hell yeah. I'm like, wow. This is the first time I ever heard the IRS they just all of a sudden just pushed it up. They upgraded what they're going to do. Not only give you a $100,000 fine, they're going to lock you the hell up. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, because a few years ago, the same thing like when Barack first became president, a lot of the Wall Street darlings, as they will call them, and some of these guys was making big money. They were all having their monies in foreign accounts, like the Swiss bank accounts. And what happened, IRS, when Barack actually said, "I'm going to put together a financial committee, to go after these guys," all of a sudden, J.P. Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon called in and says, "You're going to mess up the whole damn economy based on, going after these fine." All of these guys had their money in Swiss bank accounts, and the IRS raided all of that stuff.
Hell yeah! I think they hit the Bahamas.
They had Cayman, Bahamas, Panama, and Switzerland. They went after all of them jokers.
Yep, and that's the first time in history.
It was the first time. Yeah, and those governments just opened it up and said, "Nothing that we can do for you. Trying to hide money from the U.S."
Yeah, that's something because they pose that threat, and I think that's one of the underlying issues dealing in the Middle East, because that was one of the things that Gaddafi was trying to do to create a new economic system in Africa. And he was going into the world He was going to the world court to sue the United States. What he also is doing is to the African coalition of nations to go in to promote just a unified economy based on what they wanted to do in America, in Africa, which would eliminated the central bank, the World Central Bank, the trades markets. All of these different individuals that raping Africa would have no longer been raping Africa. And that would have put them a strong foundation for what is now known as cryptocurrency. So it's amazing how the cryptocurrency is growing, because some nations, I think Nigeria is one of them, accepted cryptocurrency as being a national source of the economy. Some places you can't, but some places you can use it all the way around.
Well, like I said, America is going to be a pushback because America is used to the dollars, the greenbacks, as they will actually call it. And to get rid of the greenbacks, because remember, many countries around the world take dollars. And that's the thing right there. So they don't want to replace dollars for cryptocurrency. America does not want that because it's not in their best interest. They don't have too much of a stake in cryptocurrency to get money from that, to get dividends from that. They get a lot of money. Remember, America can keep printing over and over the greenbacks, the money, millions and billions and trillions of dollars. You look at the stimulus packages and all these things. We're looking at 10 trillion. The stuff with the infrastructure, you're looking at 10, $2, $3, $4, $5 trillion. So that's, so America is not going to get out of the greenbacks to get into cryptocurrency. They're going to make it very hard for the cryptocurrency.
Yep.
Even look at China. China is another one also. China says we don't want that stuff over here. Says, you try to push that cryptocurrency stuff in China, they're probably going to lock you up.
Because they had their own separate system. Remember we talked about
their own kind of money.
They have their form of money through WeChat, using electronic forms of financing.
They do not want to change that because it's not in their best interest. And America is the same way with the greenback.
Right.
So now they send IRS after all of those people that had, received, gains off of these things. And that's what's happening. They're going to go after these people financially. Yes. Yeah. That's the way in pushing back against the, so a lot of people will be, kind of squeamish when it comes down to cryptocurrency. But they know that the IRS is like a taboo. You don't want them on your back, and you don't want them coming after you.
And there's a lot of shifting going on, and you see this. So we don't know if it's the fact because the threat of the IRS eventually coming, and all of a sudden, boom, they came. But you saw how Dogecoin went up, and then it fell. And then Bitcoin, the same thing. It was already higher. Then it lost 30% of the value. Then it's still declining. It went up a little bit, but it's still saying it's going down to 10, 15% at a time. Going down, so it's starting to diminish. Ethereum is now going up. But the question is, will it be able to sustain itself at its growth value? Because it just went up 15 to 20% value-wise. But they're saying it's going to cap off at like 18%. Then it's going to take a nosedive because of the potential threat. Because the way that I was being told is the influences that people like Elon Musk was making on cryptocurrency. People like Nas and Jay-Z talking about buying or creating what is it? Crypto Cube, I think it's called. It's another source of a market type deal. And then all the other factors are playing involved. They're all weighing into it. And so that's paying a heavy into it. And then you have the Reddit mob that did that for KB Toys. That did all the Reddit mob is getting involved in this process. And they're like, yo, we're going to teach you who actually runs the economy. And they're choosing who they want to go up out of sudden and make people rich and bailing out. And the IRS caught a wind to it. And they were like, okay, you're going to keep making people rich and people selling it off? Fine, we're going to get our chunk off of the sales. We're going to see how it is.
The financial market is a mess, man. I'm telling you, people have figured out, way on how to manipulate it. And I've always known that.
Yep.
They say it's a gamble, but sometimes, there's nothing wrong with gambling. But when they fix the game, this makes the gambling even difficult.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a gamble no more. Right.
It's no longer gambling. Exactly.
Right. But as we move, you're going to see a lot of that stuff. But there's a lot of premonition or people that talking about speculation that the economy, we're going to see a serious rush on the economy. So we're going to see growth, but we're also going to see inflation at incredible 20-30% inflation, incredible routes, and we won't be able to deal with it. You're going to see a lot of big chain stores and restaurants close. In addition to, potentially growth potentials are going to drop, diminish, and that's why the economists and the government is looking to see what they can do for this next stimulus because they want to try to avoid that. I'm like, wow, I don't know if one's going to be able to do that.
Just like you said, a lot of big chain stores, going to close. There's no doubt about that. A lot of them going to go out of business. There's this one place in Philadelphia. It's called Steak 48. I don't know if you've heard of those guys.
Yeah.
And when they actually says, if you want to come, here goes the dress code, going all the way on down. Second of all, per person, $100 minimum per person if you want to come inside of our restaurant in Philly. Steak 48.
I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Let's see how long that'll last, right?
What's that?
I said, let's see how long that'll last.
Yeah, a lot of people say, people are pushing back, but inflation has already hit.
Yeah.
But it's just how hard it's going to hit, because with opening up the economy and the whole 9 yards, with the vaccine, everything, it's going to come in pretty much in the fall. So what happens in the summertime, you will see the results in the fall, and that's what I'm looking at. Whether it's financially or whether it's the vaccine, you will see what's going to happen in the fall.
Right. You're going to see a lot more shortages. How things are going if the pandemic doesn't show some sort of light, meaning that it starts diminishing, and then our vaccines start working effectively. Numbers of COVID cases decreases in a really exorbitant amount. You're going to see that all the economy is going to lean on like one point in time. Remember, we didn't have toilet paper. You didn't see ketchup. You didn't see a lot of stuff because of the shortage, and all of a sudden the price of it went up, and the companies made so much money. You're going to see the same thing. We're going to see. Well, they're talking about, Nicole, you talked about food rates. They're talking about how food is going to be even more expensive really soon, and the summer is going to be a good thing. Because a lot of the growers that try to make sure that we have sustainable food in the spring or the late fall and early spring, the benefits in the summer. If we're going out there and purchasing stuff, the economy is going to help support that. So hopefully it'll feed it, so it won't be so much of a hit. So the price of food won't be as much. But you see the gas.
A lot of food was destroyed at the beginning of this pandemic. You have to remember that.
Yeah, we talk about the cycle. Commercial food. Remember how that was crazy? How you have commercial, you have a consumer, and the commercial food was so much, and they had to destroy the commercial food. They couldn't automatically convert it to consumer food. That was
exactly right. So that created an inflationary measure right there by itself. You have to, because the food was now hard to come by, and that's what you're going to see moving forward. Mm-hmm. And here goes another situation: the financial cliff that a lot of people in the other states, like 22 states, actually said to give the people until June. And then they're going to yank the monies from up under them. They created it's going to be a financial disaster heading down the road. Mm-hmm. It's a train that's coming down the road and it's going to crash.
Yeah.
It's not going to be pretty whatsoever.
That's why we talked about it before. We have to save money. We got to be very prudent in what we do, spending.
You have to.
We have to really plan for the future. This is a chance. The reset button is still, the opportunities are still there to create your own business and start making more money for yourself. Yeah. But the reality is that we may be facing hardship. We may. Let's not talk it into existence, but we may. But we prepare for it. And if it never comes, you can't say that you weren't ready for it. You'll be all right. My wife is daring me to say something about her cooking. You can't cook, so stop lying. Anyway.
Yeah, but like I said, they're looking at the financial situation down the pike, and that's the reason why some of those people on the Congress is looking at a fourth stimulus. Because they're trying to head off exactly what's coming down the pike. Yeah. They're trying to derail that train.
And the crazy stuff is speaking about that. Sorry about that question. The threat still continues about people going homeless. They talked about the numbers. They said there's 1.3 million people will potentially be homeless because of the way this pandemic is. People are still not hiring. They're not going to work. So the monies are not available, and the support systems for housing are starting to fall apart. They're not enough in the substructure to keep them going. And now with this all additional funds that are being available for businesses alone, it's not trickling over to where it needs to.
Correct.
So it's bad. There's potential.
And once that moratorium is going to make it even worse, because right now, they're on the New Jersey courts, there are 73 judges that once this pandemic hit, they said, forget about it. I'm out of here.
Yep.
A lot of them retired. A lot of them says, I'm cashing in. I'm cashing it in right about now. I've had enough. So they have to try to replace 73 judges on the courts in the state of New Jersey. 73, that's a lot.
That is a lot. And you know what? Depending on who the appointing authority is, that's a lot of power. If it's the governor, that's a lot of power. One governor.
That's a lot because they have to be approved by the governor. You're absolutely right.
That's crazy, man.
That's the reason why I told you that's where the power lies, is within the governorship. Forget about a little thing down. The governor decides all of that stuff. What's moving forward, just like the PPP money, the COVID relief. Why are these other states are having freaking lotteries? They're going to cut off their people, their constituents' unemployment, but they're going to put $5 million into a freaking lottery that you could actually win as an individual.
That's crazy. It's again, that's the lack of logic and common sense. They're basically feeding on or betting on people's destitute situations. Pushing on them. How the hell can you think that people who are struggling won't look for the opportunity? Like you got a $2 million lottery for whoever gets the vaccine.
Yeah.
You got people who have already been vaccinated struggling. How the hell you can think you're going to make them feel? They're no longer eligible to be part of the lottery because they've been vaccinated already. That's man.
It's asinine. That's what it is. Let's call it for what it is. It's asinine. Yep. It lacks all form of logic. There's no doubt about it.
It's going to create animosity even more between.
But not only that, Mo, because once you get into a situation where you have inflation, you have loss of employment, you have loss of housing, then you're going to have a higher crime rate. Because according to the statistic with the FBI, those guys said anytime you get into that situation, crime always goes through the roof.
Yep.
That's what's going to happen. You're going to have the haves and the have-nots.
Yep.
You tell me who's going to be the victim on that ladder.
And in between the predators waiting. Yep.
Of course they're waiting.
Mm-hmm.
They're laying in the darkness, in the shadows. You know, crime is going to go through the freaking roof because they created a desperate situation.
It's going to go back to what we said before. Crime's going to go to the roof, which what? Justifies more police and the potential for more bad apples to do bad things to people who are innocent or who to do things to people that you shouldn't do. It's sad. It's dog eating dog. It's
Correct.
the survival of the fittest. It's an ecosystem that really has so many gaping holes in it. But it seems to be the only ecosystem that we're aware of. It's the only system protocols that we're aware of. Instead of changing the whole shit to make sense.
Right now, giving away all of that money in different states. California is getting ready to do it also. California's like, hey, we're looking at Ohio, and they're giving away $5 million, $1 million every week for the next 5 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, we could do the same thing too. So we could take the monies that came from the federal government, and we're going to actually put it into a lottery for these people.
Yo, did you see Gavin Newsom, the governor there, right? Gavin Newsom. I like Gavin Newsom because I think he's a brave individual on the circumstances he is, and what he's done. But the other day he was like really. You don't see governors or politicians at that level be as honest as he was. He was like, I'm tired of this shit, man. You know, he was talking about, I forget what it was, San Jose. He was like, if you keep putting guns in these idiots' hands, they're going to keep doing stuff like, you know, what's wrong with us? He was telling, he's like, what's wrong with us as a people? What's wrong with us? And I'm like, yo, there you go.
What's wrong? You know, that's a good point because look at Texas. Look at what's happening with the Governor Abbott in Texas. I don't know if you've been paying attention down there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whereas you no longer need a permit or any of that stuff to carry around a freaking gun in Texas.
Remember we had Joshua talk a little bit about it?
Yeah.
Last time
it's ridiculous. It's freaking ridiculous. You don't need a gun permit. You don't need to register a gun. What's the use? Even the chief of police down in Texas, Houston, he's like, this doesn't make no damn sense whatsoever.
You have rights to be a gun owner, use a gun, and you may not be old enough to have a license. You may not be old enough or within your own mind to manage your own life, but you have a right to have a gun.
It's totally ridiculous what's going on down there.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy, man. But before we close out, man, what do you think about these masks, man? What do you think? How do you think the maskless adventure is going to happen? How do you think it's going to affect the city? How do you think it's going to affect things? You think we're going to be?
Well, first of all, you know, a lot of people are going to push the envelope. We all know that.
Yeah. Just because they say you can't wear a mask still means you got to wear pants.
There's certain places where it's still required, like in nursing homes or whatever the case may be. If you go into these places, you still have to wear a mask.
Yeah.
You know, homeless shelters, things of that nature. You know, so they still want people to wear masks there. You know, I was at Walmart earlier today, and people walking through there with no mask on. You know, they feel very liberated. You know, my philosophy is inhale, exhale at your own risk. That's the way I look at it. Inhale, exhale at your own risk. You know, that's the way I look at it.
There we go. Remember that Adrian says, inhale, exhale
at your own risk. That's me. I'll wear a mask.
Yeah.
You know, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it's your life. You know, if you want to, you know, crap shoot with your life, be my guest. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be on you. That's it.
Yeah.
You know.
You
know, people do stupid things, and that's how they lose their lives, Mo. Bottom line.
Yeah.
You know, I thought.
Right.
I saw a story out of Florida also today about 20 Cubans were trying to come across the strait between Cuba, you know, and Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a whole bunch of oil drums actually tied together, the whole 9 yards, and some wood trying to cross over there. And out of the 20 people, 10 are missing, 2 died, you know, and the other 8, you know, were rescued. trying to get to America from Cuba, because, like I've always said, when things get hard in America, it gets worse overseas.
Yeah,
And there is what's going on in Cuba. I heard is very bad.
I don't deny it, man. And you said it, when it goes bad in the states, United States,
Yeah,
it gets,
because yeah, because America has money and funds and stuff that they actually give to these countries and stuff. And when you cut off that pipeline, things get kind of rugged.
very much so, very much so.
So pray for those families and stuff, because 10
Yeah.
people are still out in that, and that's shark infested waters. And
Yes, it is.
that makes it, that's what makes it so crazy.
Yeah.
Getting on the oil drum in shark infested waters, you're nothing but chum.
I've always said that our ancestors from the diamond slave trade, the ancestors who've lost their lives in the passage, created the stir, and every year that we get reminded through the hurricanes, because it goes through the same channels, through the middle passage, the same channels. And I said that's the spirit of our ancestors, stirring up that ground, stirring up those areas to remind people of all the atrocities that's happened to so many millions of Africans being pulled from their home. And Cuba has known, off the straits of Cuba into Florida, how so many people have lost their lives there.
Yeah.
It's really sad. I'm wondering if it's tied in with that other situation where a boat capsized outside of Florida Keys, and two, if I'm not mistaken, it's two Coast Guard members were missing in their attempts to try to save lives. There's two Coast Guards that may have been lost also, and I just saw the report. And it's not like it's widely said. I think I found it on Reuters.
They don't keep the evening news. They say, okay, we have 30 minutes to give you the evening news, and out of 30 minutes, we want to have 15 minutes of commercials. So you only get in 15 minutes of the freaking news, because they don't give you much and they don't go through a lot. So you have to get your source from different avenues and different areas, like some of the PBS or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Al Jazeera or some other form of news.
Right. Some other source, right?
Yeah.
But we're starting to see a lot of stuff like that. The peace treaty that apparently took place in Jerusalem, between Hamas and the government of Jerusalem. I'm glad that children are able to sleep without the worries of bombs.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still not convinced that Palestine can be freed. The atrocities that's happened to people of Palestine won't stop. I'm still in belief that there's so much hatred, so much nonsense in the underpinnings of that area that it's going to take a whole lot more effort. And a two-country situation has to be negotiated somehow.
It has to, must. It's imperative. But it's not only two. It should be three, because remember, you have Hamas on one side, and then on the very top you have another. You have Israel in the middle. So on the east, on the very eastern side, and on the southern side, you have Hamas, and then you have another group of
Well, Hamas is outside of Egypt. Hamas works out of Egypt. My understanding is they work out of Egypt, so they're based off of Egypt.
Well, what happened is with the Palestinians, Hamas is factored into their government. That's what's going on there with Hamas, also with the Palestinians.
Okay.
They're factored in there, because everybody was saying, why is Hamas shooting off all of these freaking rockets from all of these different locations, on the Palestinian side?
Mm-hmm.
Why can they actually have, the government try to negotiate something to avoid this? This goes back for a long time. It's a holy war.
Yeah.
And it's going to be on for many years. It's a juggle. It's back and forth,
It is. It is, and I'm.
It's a holy war.
It's so unfortunate, and what's crazy is that the influence that the Jewish government and those people in government push upon the world, the influence and the guilt that they push around the world, because the majority of Jewish people, the good Jewish people of the world, they are told that all this situation is against their religion and is trying to take their land and so on and so forth. And it's sad how, if you look at it, the scope of it, it has very little to do with the religion, as it does more so about the benefits of owning the land and the historical benefits of it. Because if you own the site that say most religions are started, then you're the boss. You're the king of the mountain, and you can tell who's the best historically. So it's always an issue. The mount, church mount, seems to be that gold medal that everybody wants. That's sad, man.
It's going to go on for a very, very long time. You know, it's not going to be. You know, it's sad. Definitely,
It
it's
is.
definitely a bad situation. You know, I feel for all of the Palestinian people. You know what they're going through.
Exactly.
You know, because I mean, they shot off about 4,000 rockets at Israel.
Yeah.
That's a freaking lot of rockets they're shooting off at Israel. There's no doubt about it. 4,000.
That shit ain't.
But then on the flip side, you have Israel has the dome. They use the dome, so the dome actually stop those rockets, and then they actually put their planes in the air and they actually take out a lot of those things. But you also have to remember, Netanyahu is one of those individuals he was trained in America. He went to school in America. He was educated in America.
Bibi's dirty, man. He's dirty.
That's why he's under investigation right now over there.
Bibi Netanyahu's one of those guys, charismatic businessman.
He's one of them Trump people. He loved the hell out. Look, the Prime Minister of India, Netanyahu, the Trump of the South down in Brazil, all of these guys loved each other.
Yes, they white
supremacists. All loved each other. And all of them are under some type of investigation or looking at going to jail in the future.
Mm-hmm.
All of them.
I remember when Netanyahu made a statement about Barack, because Barack says, listen, I want to be able to sit down with you and let's talk and negotiation things, but let's do it after this election. I have to focus on the election. And he took offense to that situation. And I'm like, why would you really take offense of it if you're really starting to engage situation? Know that this man could potentially be in a situation where you have 4 years of negotiation took place. He's got to focus on what he can, and there's certain things that he may find more pivotal importance in homeland than it is talking with you. So it's egotistical. But I feel for the Jewish people, and I pray they find some peace. But I'm very much so for the Palestinians.
Also,
and, exactly, they deserve to be free.
Benjamin Netanyahu, he's the one. You know what I'm saying? Is the government of Israel. They investigated this guy. They said this dude is dirty as hell.
Oh yeah,
he's running the flipping country.
Oh yeah,
he's running the freaking country. That's what's happening there. So the Israeli people are under this tyrant.
Yeah, and it's a shame. It's so shameful. It's a shame. But we'll see. As all this stuff develops, we'll see how it impacts the world, because what happens there impacts everyone.
Yeah, it does.
In one aspect, exactly. Because if you got the three main religions of the world calling that place home base, whatever happens there stirs up a lot everywhere,
But at the same time, that's why America is trying to become less dependent on oil also. Because a lot of the stuff, we're tied into them. When things go bad over there, it goes worse over here when it comes down to the oil and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I know that America is trying to put a stronger foothold in the Middle East, and they're also trying to initiate stricter mandates on gas combustion, on oil usage, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Some of the automobile vehicles are already told 10 years. You got 10 years to go total electric, total. So if the majority of the consumption is being done by automobiles, if you're telling everybody 10 years, that just tells you 12 to 15 years, there's no more need for any kind of carbon-based or fossil fuels. We're all looking electric.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see if Elon Musk succeeds in what his attempts are.
Elon Musk is trying to, you was talking something earlier about, the supersonic, because they have a jet that they actually discovered. They want $100 or whatever you could get on board this jet, and they will actually take you from point A to point B in supersonic time. I remember the Concorde used to do that.
Yeah, and that's what they're doing. They're just going back on it. But you know what? I just saw something. I'm going to go back and watch it. But it's a documentary on 1971. And they said something happened in 1971 that impeded on the advancement in aviation. Like now planes can't travel faster to their location. They seem to have gotten slower since 1971. It's taking more time for people to fly from to and fro in the airlines. The only times we had a situation where people can be there quicker, faster, is when we had supersonic speeds using the Concorde. And even though the Concorde was consuming so much fossil fuel, it was able to travel faster than normal. So people can go and be from New York to London in like 2 hours, 3 hours. That's how supersonic speed it was. And then now it's a 17, 18-hour flight.
Yeah, you know what happened to the Concorde when that last accident happened?
Yeah.
There was a plane that actually came in that a part of the landing gear or some part fell off the plane. And when the Concorde came into land after that particular plane, it actually punctured the tires, causing the Concorde to crash.
Yeah, I saw that. It's a shame. I always wanted to ride the Concorde too, because I thought that would be kind of cool. I'm a speed freak without, being speed. I respect speed. I enjoy speed. Aviation has always been fascinating to me. So opportunity to be on Concorde, I'm on. Let's go.
Yeah, well, they have that new plane, like I mentioned, that a new jet that plans on doing that. I saw the design for it and everything, so it looks pretty neat.
Yeah. But if Elon Musk and all the people alike get what they want, we're going to see tunnels. You're going to see flying at a faster speed, and you will see finally the idea of flying cars.
Yeah, I've seen it, like the Jetsons. I saw one this week. Yeah. The future is at hand, man. I'm telling you.
I think it's time, man. It's a bit easier. We need to start looking at our scopes. Our horizons need to be wider than they are right now. We need to look at things a little bit more advantageous because we're stifled. And progress in life and population growth and all that stuff cannot continue under the same mandates. We got to be able to prosper and look at differently. We got to look at water energy, look in hydroponics and hydroelectricity. We got to farm the oceans better and do better by the oceans themselves. The land, making sure that we still have forage, forests and whatever, so it gives us oxygen. We should terra mine and make sure that we can clean the airs more. Technology is there. And I said this earlier. If we make billions of dollars to spend on this, if America alone has billions of dollars to spend on doing whatever we're doing now for the pandemic, imagine all the nations that spent billions of dollars for their constituents. If we've all shared in an expense to terraform and build some technology to help clean the air, how much better will we be?
Well, when you're looking at the infrastructure plan that Congress and these guys can't seem to hammer down, because that type of money you could build many trains, bullet trains, instead of using the same old train that you get on and like starting up real slow and then shaking the hell out of you like a popcorn shaker. They could put a lot of bullet trains on tracks and start building it out. And I think that's what Biden has in mind and haven't done, because I heard Elizabeth Warren was mentioned that same thing earlier this week. Try to use some of that money to advance, fix the airports, make them much more modernized. The trains, the roads, the bridges, all of these infrastructures need to be, even the pipes underground. A lot of the pipes, those are very old pipes. They're over 50 years old.
Absolutely. So I'm in agreement that we need to advance technology and transportation and opportunities, because that makes everything else trickle down. And if it's cheaper to transport things, that means the cost of things will be less.
Exactly. And you're putting people to work at the same time.
Yep.
You're putting people to work. I see, you mentioned the Concorde. Many years ago, the Concorde landed right here in Pomona.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah. It was because Pomona is the longest runway on the entire East Coast. A lot of people are not privy to that.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know
it's the longest. That's the reason why, during 9/11, they scrambled jets from Florida. But according to the 9/11 Commission, they could have scrambled the jets right here from Pomona. They put these guys on standby and they pulled the jets from Florida.
Yeah, Blue Angels. Yep.
And that's one of the main reasons why the second building was able to come down. Because if they scrambled it from right in Pomona, they would have never had the opportunity to actually hit the second building during 9/11.
More details come out. That's a shame.
Yeah, the 9/11 Commission that was put together by Thomas Kane. Yeah, it says it right in there.
Well, maybe we'll spend some time talking about that development and get a professional.
And the situation over here in Pomona, you only have Spirit Airlines is the only one that's flying out of there.
Right now.
It could be a lot better.
Yeah, it could. All the money they spend over there and they're still working with this junk carrier. They could have contacted JetBlue or somebody else to to navigate, but these people don't know how to navigate and talk to these individuals to try to engage in business.
Yeah, if they're trying to build, have more people come down to the shore area, you have a brand new train station, the convention center. You have, also the airport. You have all of them. You have you have the beach, the boardwalk, the bays. Come on, you can't get these people down there.
All you got to do is tie it into. If you got the airport and everything, tie it in with a train. You tie it with a train to go up north to New York, down to Delaware, and what have you. Tie the train to Pennsylvania. Tie the train into the airport. That airport would be used more by those general areas. Have the other suburban or the outside communities, rural communities, get train stops also. They can deliver this way, and they can all use it, and it can be a widely used for transportation. People coming in and more people going out. But they don't think about it.
This airport right here could be an international airport, because like it says, it has the longest runway on the freaking entire East Coast. You can have a lot of planes flying into this bad boy.
Easily. Yep, easily. But that's something that we're going to probably talk about more. It is 20 minutes to 11, and I think it's time to close out for the night. I'm getting my energy levels going down. I need to eat. So, but I appreciate the time that you was on. I think the conversation was pretty good. Hopefully we'll get the others on board next time for the next show, and then we'll talk about more. But as always, Adrian, close us out, man. Talk to me. Say something.
My man Derek, I love that guy to death. There's no doubt about it. I love the entrepreneurial spirit. That's what it's all about. It's not just, college. There's trades out here that's opening up big time, but we have to try to teach and train our people, to try to get some of these jobs, because they are good paying jobs after all. They're definitely good paying jobs.
Right.
And as far as opening up the economy, your response and wearing the mask, it's your right, it's your life. I've always said that before.
Absolutely.
If you think you want to change it, go for it. If not, you're entitled not to, to wear it. Either way. It's your decision. It's a personal decision.
Yep.
And I've always said, be positive and test negative, because that's what it's all about, folks.
Bam. He hits it. So I just in my standpoint, I just want everybody to pay attention more about life, the way things are going on. Pay attention to each other more. As we go into Memorial Day, remember, this is a day that we celebrate and pay homage to the people who've lost their lives, who've given their lives to support and protect America and its greatness. However, some of us have lost why we celebrate this thing, and let's not do them dirty. Let's keep them in mind, keep them in prayer. Family members that still struggle with the loss of their family members in the military who have lost their lives. But let's also pick up a shovel. Let's pick up a weapon, a tool, or something, a weapon against injustice. Pick up a tool to make America better. It's in our hands. This is the time when we can reset things and we can make things right. Let's do what we can to make things better, whether it's creating a community garden in your community, or it's just picking up your broom outside of your household and sweeping. It's the small things that add up. As long as we're all doing our part, we can end up all together at the end, smiling because we made America what it potentially could be. And it's up to you, y'all. It's up to me. It's up to all of us. We really appreciate you here at the New Norm 2.0 with Mo Delgado. We look forward to having you come back by next week for the show. Remember, don't forget, the New Norm has its website, the New Norm at I'm sorry. Norm.club. I had to look at
You're getting tired.
Yeah. But even still, I got it right here. I should just put it on set. It's on the screen now for anybody who's looking. You'll see it. Where's it at? Sure. Wait, no, that's not it. The balance. Here we go. I'll put it on there. Or a website for anybody. I need to have it on there anyway. But you're welcome to visit the website that Adrian's administrator of to get any information that you may be needing for, looking for. We've recently had voter information. We'll continue to try to be a conduit for voter information for those who need to be registered or identified or just get more information. Entrepreneurship is something that we always support in the community and all the way around. Information and education is needed. It's required. So whatever we can do to help you get the education you need to be more, to do more, to get more out of life, that's what we do. We're conduits here. So don't forget, go visit the newnorm.club. That's .club, because as Adrian says, we're all part of the club. So please come out and visit and leave us a message if you like there. Or you can see us also at our independent sites over at Twitter. You can New Norm 2.0 with Mo Delgado. And you look to be part of the conversation there at Twitter. Let me see if I can get it's Instagram, New Norm 2.0, Twitter, the New Norm 2.0, and the New Norm here with Mo Delgado on Facebook. So these are the avenues if you want to reach out and leave us a message, or on the webpage, you're welcome to. And also, if you'd like to help us continue on to try to develop and possibly grow, you're welcome to go to www.patreon.com /the New Norm with Mo Delgado and leave us some love if possible. We're not asking for a whole lot, but whatever you think is justifiable, it's appreciated. But either which way, just come on by, share, like, and distribute. Make sure that you hit the notification button so whenever we download, which is usually every Friday at 7 p.m., we'll do stuff. We'll start trying to break down the shows to make it available, and also engage the audio portion of it for the audio podcast, or I like to say the pod blasts, because that's what we do. We have a pod blast. The show is all encompassing, so we want to give everybody an opportunity to be a part of it. So thanks again. I'm your host, Mo Delgado, thanking you ever so much for your patience and time as we continue living and going through this journey called life together. And we look forward to seeing you all next week. And as like my man Adrian said, please stay positive, but test negative.
That's it. Have a blessed weekend.
Y'all take care. Be blessed.
Be safe.